And that is definitely my cue to start the show. Welcome to another edition of the Hard Rock and Sports Show, live from high atop Hard Rock and Sports Studios in beautiful scenic Monroe, New Jersey. We are your 2-hour weekly get-together. We bring you all the biggest news from around the worlds of hard rock, heavy metal, of course, the wide world of sports. And guys, welcome to Thursday, July the 24th in the year of our good Lord, 2025. And I will tell you, folks, this is one of the easiest and absolutely one of the most difficult shows we are ever going to do. First off, if you came in looking for the 2025 15th annual Hard Rock and Sports NFL Training Camp show, that is postponed for 1 week. We will be doing very little sports this week. We may get a little bit in the very first beginning of the show, but I would think primarily this show will be dedicated to two pop culture icons. And of course, I mean, with the passing of one, John Michael Ozzy Osbourne and Terry Jean Hulk Hogan Balea, the world is a little sadder today. And I'll tell you, I thought Ozzy was getting a big send-off. He's been all over, his passing has been big news. It's starting to dwindle out a little bit. That's how you know how big a person is by how many different tributes and different things you hear. Well, I got to tell you, I got a feeling Hulk Hogan may eclipse that because today we lost the Hulkster. And I'm not going to get to my speech about what I think about Hulk Hogan. I'll wait for Jeff and I'll wait for this to start. We'll each take a few minutes and kind of give our own thoughts. But if you grew up in the 80s, Ozzy, Blizzard of Oz, Hulk Hogan, WWF are two of the biggest pieces of 80s history you could have. Ozzy transcended things beyond just the music world. And of course, Hulk Hogan was larger than life. So please bear with us while we kind of take our time tonight and we pay tribute to these two legends. And we'll get to a lot of sports. Maybe at the end of the show, we'll get some time. We'll talk a little football. Next week, we'll be back, as long as nobody else dies, obviously. But I'm gonna, but we'll be back next week with the football show. Right now, I want to get Jeff on, and I really want to get into this. I want to get my pops on, and then we're going to go ahead and do our tribute to both Ozzy Osbourne and Hulk Hogan. If you guys are out there and you want to pop in, let me know. I'll send you a link. If you just want to throw up some comments, you're free to do that as well. And this is a time to get together. But if you were born in the 60s and spent your childhood of the late 70s and 80s growing up, you should be a little sadder today. So anyway, let's get the show started. I thank you all. And like Ozzy said, we love you all. Hang on. Let's get Jeff on and get the show kicked in. Hefe, welcome aboard.
What's up, man?
Jeff, this is a tough show. I have to tell you.
Yeah, it's not one that we ever wanted to do, but here we are.
Yeah, I will tell you. Well, let's kick the show off the way we always do. Jeff, how was your week?
Not so good, for obvious reasons.
Yeah, well,
a long week, but just made it longer.
Yeah, I mean, let me ask you a question. So when you obviously you're a huge Sabbath fan, you're a huge Ozzy fan, you're a huge wrestling fan. You know, you get the news a few days ago, Ozzy passes away. You're kind of getting past that. You've listened to a lot of Ozzy, I'm assuming. You listen to a lot of Black Sabbath stuff. And then this morning we all wake up and we hear that the Hulkster passed away. Give me a minute or two on your first thoughts once you heard.
I mean, kind of shocking, like more so shocking than Ozzy dying. It's like, who would ever expect Hulk Hogan to die?
Yeah.
This is somebody that's in good shape, but I mean, not for nothing, he's put himself through years of abuse too, with taking steroids and God knows what the fuck else he might have been doing back in the 80s and shit. Wrestling is a tough business, man. These guys don't last long.
Well, to me, my first thought, a lot of people reached out to me. They know I got my Hulkster hat on. A lot of people know I'm a huge Hulk Hogan fan. We're both big wrestling fans. You might not be the big Hulkster character fan that I am, but you're a big fan of, that era of wrestling and what Hulk represents to us as WWF fans. When I heard it this morning, after the fact I heard it from you, I think I woke you up to the Ozzy one. Hey, Frank, I think I got you on Ozzy and you got me with the Hulk Hogan one. So I think we kind of traded off on that. But it just, to me, it came up and I said, I felt like the 80s just died today.
Yeah, that between the two of them, definitely a bridge to our childhood is definitely gone.
Yeah, because I was trying to think, and I want to get to a little later, but I was trying to think like all the icons of the different eras. And when I was going through the 80s in my head, Hulk Hogan's got to be there because he was that resurgence, he was that resurgence of America after the Jimmy Carter years. Also now everybody was being patriotic and everybody's a real American and all that good stuff. And I was trying to think, like, when I think of the 80s, who do I think of? Is my mic cutting out? I mean, maybe it's just I'm not holding it in tight enough. Yeah. I'll pop it up a little bit. Let me know, Frankie, if it's any better. But, I was trying to think today, Jeff. So real quick, when you think of the 80s and you think of the icons, I'll do it a little bit now. Like, the 50s to me is Elvis and Marilyn Monroe. Like, to me, I think of the 50s, that's who I think of. When I think of the 60s, it's the Beatles. The 70s I have a hard time with, but when I get to the 80s, it could be Michael Jackson, but he had a lot of scandal. But to me, it's Hulk Hogan, and then maybe Mr. T. He was a huge icon in the 80s.
Your mic again, Tom.
Yeah, it must be. I don't know. It's on my end. It sounds perfect, so I'll try to adjust if I can here. Anyway, when you think of the 80s, Jeff, who represents the 80s for you as a pop icon?
There was a lot, man. There was a lot going on in the 80s, to be honest with you. I don't think I could narrow it down to just one person. There was different things going on in the 80s. And, wrestling became big again. You had the different kinds of like, Motley Crue was coming in. Metallica was coming in. Ozzy was up and coming. We were in high school at that time, so God only knows what the fuck was on our mind back then, and what we were actually, doing.
Yeah,
there was a lot going on. What music, people were into disco, new wave, punk, all kinds of different things that were going on. We were getting ready to learn how to drive. You're getting ready to, what's going to happen after high school. There was a lot going on for us back then. And Hulk Hogan was definitely part of it. All I could say is just thanks to Hulk Hogan, I got to put the camel clutch on somebody.
That's in my Hulk Hogan memories. I'm going to ask you for some Hulk Hogan memories, and to me, that's going to be in there for me.
You know that story, how that went and everything. But I'm glad that the 80s is when we met, man, when we all started hanging out. The 80s was big for us. And, I don't think I would ever have traded that time for anything. There was important time in our lives, and Hulk Hogan was there. And if you remember right, we all watched wrestling. It was Saturday night wrestling, and then it was Saturday afternoon wrestling. Then all of a sudden, the Iron Sheik beat Bob Backlund after Backlund had the title for how many fucking years. And then Hulk Hogan came in in Madison Square Garden and won the title. And it didn't take him that long to win the title, man. What was it, like less than 10 minutes?
Something like that.
And I remember waking up on Saturday morning, and they showed highlights from that wrestling match. And there was Hogan with the belt. And then I was like, what is this? What is going on? And then we had to wait for that match to come on, and I taped it. And all you guys came and watched it at my house, because that was one of the biggest things that could have happened. Hulk Hogan winning the belt, and the way that he did it. And, it was a big, exciting time for us, man. It was huge.
Yeah. Listen to me. You can mark the passage of time sometimes with specific things. Like the 1980 hockey team marked an era for me where I was transitioning from, like, say, by being a kid to a teenager. Hulk Hogan, even though you and I had already been hanging out before that, maybe a year and a half before that, like, that will always be that day for me in your parents' living room watching that. I remember getting the call, come over, big match, Hogan won, running over to your house and watching it. And then, of course, watching you snap the camel clutch on Joey. Joey really passing out and losing his spine. But 40-something years later, it's still the memory. And that time, from that point on, you as you're growing up, you're going, wrestling's fake, right? It's fake, right? And you watched it every week. We talked about it on Sundays when we were supposed to be in church, and we were going to breakfast, and we were talking about the night, talking about the match from the night before. So to me, the 70s, you can back it in and say, maybe it was the disco era. You can think of the Bee Gees and John Travolta and Saturday Night Fever. But to me, for the 80s, it all begins and starts with Hulk Hogan. And it's just because the image of the red and yellow, the red, white, and blue, the song, just the difference in wrestling from Saturday nights at midnight to all of a sudden wrestling became mainstream, right? All of a sudden there was, all of a sudden, you had people like Alice Cooper and Cyndi Lauper and all going to wrestling events, and Muhammad Ali was there, and, they were having these big events. And of course, I think wrestling exploded with WrestleMania 3. Obviously, that's where it really kind of took off. But before that, it was already growing. Hulk Hogan was in movies. He's in TV shows. So we're going to get much, 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 much more into it. We're going to talk about Ozzy, the concert, what it means now. Who knew that we were watching Ozzy, not only his last performance, but realistically his, the end of his life. And we'll talk about the concert. We'll talk about Hulk Hogan. I want to talk about a little bit about people who are actually putting Hogan down now. I was just Googling him on for his Wikipedia, Jeff, and it was like, Hogan's had many problems over the last few years with his health and MAGA. Like, why is MAGA a problem in his life? The guy was a Republican. He was a big Donald Trump fan, and he believed in it. Why is that a problem? I don't understand it. That part kind of stuff bothers me. Let people be who they want, and if you don't like it, change the channel.
There you go. Yeah.
So we'll get into
I don't understand. You have more power, not you.
Yeah.
You have more power than anybody else, because all you got to do is click. That's it. Shut it off, walk in the other room, whatever. And
simple.
They want to sit there, watch it, and complain about it. You know who I could see sitting there watching and complaining about? Whoever the president is. Whoever the president is, because if you don't like what he's doing, you watch it, you listen to him, what his plan is, and be like, I don't like it. Well, you know what? In 4 years, you vote. And then maybe your guy, maybe enough people vote for your way. But you know, what difference does it make? You don't want to watch it? Okay, don't watch it. Sit back, don't watch it. Don't care. And it's amazing. And now the guy's dead. The guy's dead. So you want to say about his health issues? Okay. there's evidently no denying them. He's not here no more.
Yeah, no, listen, we'll get into all of that. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot to it.
Just take it one step at a time. He's gone.
Yeah, no, listen, and it was,
but
the
nobody says nobody's holding a gun to you.
No, you're right. And with the Ozzy thing, you kind of saw it coming. Like you're kind of going, all right, maybe I didn't expect it 2 weeks later, but you kind of saw Ozzy could barely move. You heard the health issues. And a couple weeks ago, I don't know if you heard, there was all sorts of rumors that the Hulk was in a coma. His heart was failing. And then he popped up somewhere and he was like, no, I'm fine. And then all of a sudden, like, it was quiet. And next thing you know, this morning.
I heard nothing about him.
Yeah.
The last things that I heard about him was when he was campaigning for Trump.
Okay. Yeah.
That was like the really last.
Yeah. He's been out and about. I bought his new beer that he was, I don't know if it was his or he was a promo guy for it. Real American beer. It's actually pretty good. I bought it. I just to buy a can so I can display it on my bar. But I drank a couple cans, and I don't drink beer. I don't drink it, and it was actually pretty good. So,
where did you get it?
I got it when I was in Florida. Up here, there's a store in Staten Island that actually sells it on Amboy Road. So I'm gonna make a trip through Staten Island one of these days and grab a case of it. Again, I recommend it not just because it's Hulkster, but because it's actually decent beer. We'll see. They were supposed to open up a Hulk Hogan themed restaurant bar across from Madison Square Garden. That was announced a couple of months ago, and I know it's supposed to open soon. I'm going to take a walk by and wonder if that's still going to go through or not. I mean, I don't know, what his involvement was, but his name was going to be on the door, so I was kind of looking forward to it.
That's a shame, man.
Yeah, but 71, still way too young. But you're right, Jeff. Him. All these guys. I mean, I know didn't Buff Bagwell or somebody just die also recently?
He didn't die. He had his leg
amputated, right? So
above the knee.
Yeah. So I mean, the wear and tear of their bodies, compounded with the illegal and real illegal drugs that they did between the steroids and everything else. That to me, you saw way too many of these guys who are in great shape. Die way too early. They all did.
I'm thinking one of the funniest memes is where they're like, when your friends are looking for you and you're in the Porta John and there's Hulk Hogan, I'm in here, brother. And it's fucking great, man.
Yeah, there's been some really good ones, and there's some really. I'd love to get some of the memes I saw. I'd love to turn into artwork with Ozzy and Randy Rhoads. There's been a bunch of wrestling ones with Hulk Hogan showing up at the pearly gates and Andre and the Warrior and Macho Man meeting him at the gates. There's so many nice ones. There's actually a few I'd love to get done. Then I said, well, I'd like to have it signed, and they're all gone. I can't get it signed, so why bother? So, but again,
it would be nice if you had a room that was ready to go and you could put them in the room and it would look cool.
Yeah.
As a conversation piece, but something that this is when we used to hear our parents talk or us, they're like, oh, I saw so and so wrestle, I saw this one wrestle.
Yeah.
Now the kids may listen to us and be like, yeah, I remember when Hogan was there, and maybe some kids will be like, what do you mean he was young, 71 years old? And they don't know, they don't understand, they didn't maybe see it, they didn't understand it, and how far a wrestling has come, and it's become what it is because of Hulk Hogan.
Right.
It's rested squarely. Yes, The Rock did things. Yes, Stone Cold Steve Austin and Triple H did their share, and The Undertaker and Kane and all these guys. But the reason we're at where we are is because of Hulk Hogan.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
The guy just
the Babe Ruth of wrestling. There's no, you could say there's better wrestlers. You could say that there's bigger wrestlers, but there is no Stone Cold. There is no Rock. There is no, John Cena. There is none of those guys that we know them today. If there's no Hulk Hogan in 1983, I'm sorry, it just doesn't happen.
You don't have to say sorry, man. That is the total truth. If that man didn't come along and let's not forget, Rocky III played a big part.
Oh, sure.
In him because he was Thunder Lips.
Absolutely.
And I remember the line when Rocky says to what was his fucking manager's name?
To Mickey.
Mickey, yeah, he's like, I wonder how much he eats. And he was like
202
202 pounds, and they announced his weight.
Yeah.
And he just looked at him like,
Yeah.
you know.
That is a great scene. And, it's funny because, he lost his job to do that. And yet, you're probably right, that helps catapult him to being who he was. And all of that
Definitely,
goes with
because everybody, people knew who Hulk Hogan was. I did not.
I did not.
I
had never seen him before that.
Quite obvious that he was somebody when he was
Sure.
he was just a big dude. He was huge, and I mean, I don't know how much of that was really size versus camera magic, but I know he was fucking huge compared to Sylvester Stallone.
Oh yeah,
and and then you see, just like in real life, he was like, maybe we could get a Polaroid together. He's like, yeah, sure, man, why not? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like right there. It's like it always gave the illusion, like, where is wrestling? Like, how?
Correct. Yes.
Where is it, man? Where is it?
But that's where rock and wrestling started, right there. Because before that, did you ever see a wrestler in a movie? Any sort of a feature role. And then it grew from there. And from that point on, you never saw Bob Backlund in a movie. You didn't see Gorilla Monsoon in a movie. Gorilla
Monsoon might have been in certain things that we don't know about.
Maybe.
Bob Backlund was not.
Yeah.
Because I feel as though that Bob Backlund was too, didn't have enough personality.
He was stiff.
I guess you could say that. I guess you could say that. To me, he did not have enough personality.
I agree with you. Listen, I loved Backlund. I thought I was a fan of wrestling at that point in time. I watched all of his matches, got to see him live in a steel cage thanks to my dad and all that stuff. But wrestling became wrestling the way you see it today from that day, or from January to 23rd or 21st, 1983, when Hogan pins the Sheik, the whole thing changed.
And I know that we've talked about this before and we've read about it. We've both read about it.
Yeah.
When the Iron Sheik kind of let out of the bag, if he had gone a different way, and they were like, break his leg, and he would have been like, that could have been it. What would have happened if he turned around and said, okay, I'll do it. I'll break his leg.
Yeah.
What happens? Is wrestling still in a fucking grammar school auditorium on a Saturday night?
Yeah, and it's still in territories all over the country. I think that was the beginning of the end for everybody else. That was it. And it was the Hulk Hogan character with all the patriotism and the rebirth of the country under Reagan and the fall of the Russians and all that shit that went with it. That would never have happened had the Sheik gone ahead and snapped Hogan's leg, and that match would have disappeared. And I don't think you would have ever got what you got. I just don't see it. I don't know there was another character in that era that brought. The Warrior was close. The Warrior was close, but it was short. He couldn't sustain it because he was a terrible wrestler.
But the Ultimate Warrior already came in when wrestling had already peaked.
Yes.
The Ultimate Warrior served his purpose.
Yes.
When he came in, because everybody kind of needed a break from Hogan.
Yes. Yeah.
Everything was the same thing with Hogan. Like, brother, I'm gonna win this for the Hulkamaniacs and shit that. And like after a while, it's like, how many times could this guy and the Hulkamaniacs win again and again and again? You know what I mean?
I agree. It was a fresh shot, but I don't. He might have been the only guy who could have possibly jump-started that era. But even then, I don't think it could have happened. It would have been very, very short-lived and not took off. Hogan and that character lasted 7 years, 8 years.
No, he was out there for a long time, but
before it started to fade, and then of course he disappeared a little bit. Then he had the heel turn, and we'll get much more into the wrestling end of it. But I gotta tell you, this is a tough show, guys. We want to hear your wrestling stories. We want to hear your wrestling, and Ozzy. I'm sorry, we don't want to make it seem like this is strictly about wrestling. We want to hear your Ozzy memories, your thoughts. please put them up. If you want to jump on the show, I'll send you a link. This is going to be 2 hours of Jeff and I just shooting the shit. The NFL 2025 NFL training camp show will be back next week. I got about 12 pages of stuff between the two things. So we got plenty of stuff. We'll get to a lot of it tonight. But let's get my pops on. He's been hanging in a while. And then we'll really kick the tribute in. I want to get a lot more Ozzy in. I want to talk to you about the benefit, about the show. Back to the beginning. I know you were a little down on it. I know maybe your opinion has changed now that Ozzy's gone. We'll find that out. But in the meantime, let's get my pops on. And thank you all for staying around with me and Jeff tonight. Hang on. What's up, Pop?
What's up, guys? How you doing? Tommy, either your memory's bad or I don't remember. But if you remember, we were at the Garden that night.
What, for Hogan and the Sheik? No.
Yes, we were.
No.
Listen to me.
No, we went in 78. We went to, no, we never, no way. I would remember
Hulk Hogan was a bad guy then. Bob Backlund brought him to the ring because the Sheik beat Bob Backlund to win the crown. When they came out with Hulk Hogan, everybody started booing. And Bob Backlund kept saying, he's changed. He's not that type of. It was me, you, your brother, and Uncle Bob.
Okay, I honestly I don't. I remember going to see Bob Backlund wrestle.
No, Backlund didn't wrestle.
No, we saw Bob Backlund wrestle in '78, the steel cage match against Chief Peter Maivia.
No.
Yes, that was
that's
me.
Your brother. I'm not just saying. Yeah, that's your brother.
I'll ask him. I would almost think I would remember that, but it's possible. I remember going to 78.
Originally, if you remember, we originally had 3 seats.
Right.
And Uncle Bob got one later, and he was behind us, and we switched over with somebody. Uncle Bob got up, started screaming. I never forget.
I remember going to wrestling with you and Uncle Bob and Richie.
Yeah.
One I remember is 78 when Bob, because I remember that was the hugest thing in the world to us, to me and Richie.
I remember Bob Backlund coming out with his arm around Hulk Hogan, and everybody booed him. And he kept saying, no, he's changed. He's not a mean person no more.
All right. Listen, I'll ask Richie that question because I do not remember that match. I don't remember being there. And I am
more upset that you set up. You and all you went with Uncle Bob. I mean, I'm always nice to the guy. He didn't take me to wrestling. If I had known that, I wouldn't have said hello to him that night in the bar.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, before that, I met who at that time was the big wrestler, Bruno Sammartino.
Okay.
And
at that show?
No. This is when he was wrestling.
Oh, okay.
And I went to the Garden myself to see it. I was like four rows back.
Oh boy!
And he was a big tough guy.
When those guys were wrestling back in those days, Dad, was the Garden packed? Was it?
Yes. Yes. A lot of people at the Garden.
They couldn't have it at the Garden if it was only half full, man. They had to have it.
There was Bruno Sammartino, Antonino Rocca, Miguel Perez, Don Lewis, Mark. Yeah, you go. Yeah, but you could see it was all,
Yeah, I got. Like I said, when we were kids, it was like we know it's fake, really. It is fake, right? You wanted to. I think it was more we wanted to believe it was real, even though we kind of knew it wasn't. But it was more fun.
I had a good friend of mine. His cousin, you wouldn't know him, and I don't think anybody would know, was Al Smith. Mm-hmm. He was a professional wrestler, and he had a goatee on, and his thing was, if you beat me, I'll let you shave me right in the middle of the ring. But he was a cousin, first cousin. It's a good friend of mine. So at a birthday party, we met him. Naturally, young kids, we all, and we asked him, and one of the guys asked him, is wrestling for real? They say it's fake. And he said, look at the bruises I got all over me.
There's no doubt that those guys take the punishment, whether it was staged and the outcomes were rigged. At this point in my life, it doesn't matter. I'm going to go back tonight.
Wrestling now is fake and staged. Back then, we didn't know. And that's the way I think of it.
It was more realistic back then.
Yes. Well, back then it was about wrestling. It was about a little bit of a story and a lot of wrestling. Today it's about a lot of story and a little bit of wrestling. And to be wrestling, you have to throw somebody 12 stories off a building onto a pile of nails and glass. Otherwise,
Yeah,
nobody cares.
right.
Because it's just extreme. And I'm sure it's great, and it still draws packed audiences. But I will tell you that I try, and I can't watch it. I honestly just can't watch it.
No, I don't.
You know what ever always got me?
Yeah,
I remember being exposed to boxing first.
sure,
And no matter who the boxers were, they always had boxing gloves on, of course.
of course.
And these guys would pound the shit out of one another wearing boxing gloves. But then we were supposed to believe that wrestling was real. Two guys bigger than boxers beating the shit out of one another.
No blood.
He was wearing gloves. Nobody bled. Nobody got bruised. No nothing. But in boxing with gloves on, padding, these guys were getting knocked out, black eyes, missing teeth, stitches. You name it, they got it. Wrestlers always looked great when they came out of the ring.
Absolutely.
Except if the match wasn't on TV.
Right.
And then you see the magazines and them covered with blood.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
never show that shit on TV at night.
Well, we watched it. I remember one of the shows we watched. Bob Backlund. You could actually see him go underneath his pants, take out a little thin razor, and scratch himself like this.
Sure. That was a big
Because
thing.
you get a lot of blood, but it's not a
Yes.
bad cut.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
he's sitting there, and he got blood.
Well, you see a lot of those wrestlers from back in those days. You look at their
Yeah.
foreheads; it was all scarred up. It was all
Some of them,
mangled
Some
from
of them,
cutting themselves repeatedly, and that's Jimmy Snuka was that way.
Yeah, Jimmy
So if
Snuka.
you look at
Yeah.
his forehead, it was
a lot of them like that. Abdullah
Sure.
the Butcher, if you ever see his
absolutely
head,
yes.
my
Yes.
God.
But yeah, listen, it's a different time. It's the advent of social media has ruined a lot of things, and one of the things that it ruined was wrestling because back in the day they could have the same wrestling match 50 times across the country and nobody knew.
No.
And now, you have one concert. Everybody knows the set list. They know what how many hot dogs they're selling.
Yep.
It's a different time. Back then, you didn't know. I mean, you had to call like crazy phone numbers to find out who wanted the Garden. I just looked it up to find out. I went with Paul Gill in 1984 to see Hogan wrestle. And it was March 17, 1984. He wrestled Greg the Hammer Valentine because they used to do one show a month at the Garden.
Yep.
And March of 84, Paul and I went, and we saw it was just a regular singles match, Greg the Hammer versus Hulk Hogan. I have no memory of the match. I don't remember, but I remember going with him because it was probably one of the first times I was allowed to go to the city at night by myself, obviously with Paul, and go to.
You know what you do? Go on the internet.
Yeah.
If you go back to, maybe you can see Uncle Bob screaming like he was jumping up and down screaming.
Uncle Bob was a very, very, very lively guy. Yes, he was very emotional at sporting events. I do remember that. Yes, Uncle Bob was a
All right, I'm
very.
gonna let you guys go. I know
Thanks,
you want
Pops.
to. You got good.
Good
Don't forget
memories.
that's your brother.
I'm going to ask him.
Thank you,
I don't remember it. Richie may remember it too. I'm gonna ask him. Maybe he's got some better
I remember
recollection.
that so far because I remember that we had good seats,
Yeah.
and I remember. But the big deal, I don't remember the match. I don't remember them wrestling, but I just remember Bob Backlund bringing in Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
And at that time, he was a bad guy.
Yeah, I mean, he was up. He was for a long time. I don't remember the switch off. I don't remember. For me, maybe Jeff remembers. I don't remember Hulk Hogan prior to that match against the Sheik. Like I have no memory. I'm sure I saw him. I'm sure he was popping up along the way. But until that match, I have no recollection other than Thunder Lips.
If you get the internet, look to see where Hulk Hogan beats the Sheik for his title, because the Sheik beat Bob Backlund.
Yes, that
They
was
were
a month
supposed to have a
before.
rematch,
Yes.
but something happened to Backlund where he couldn't wrestle.
Yes.
That's what it was.
Yeah,
They made a big deal that
they
he
beat
couldn't
each
wrestle.
other, and then Backlund couldn't wrestle because his back was bad.
Right.
Hogan stepped in the last minute.
You were at that. match.
Listen, I'm happy to hear that. I'm going to have to look it up and see if I can figure it out. I don't remember. That's
Take
funny.
care, guys.
You
Have
got
a
it,
good
Bob.
night.
I'll see you over the weekend. You got it.
Take care.
See you later, Mr.
All
Flores.
right, Pops. That's my daddy checks in every week. I would tell you, I have no recollection of that.
You weren't.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I get it.
You know how I know you weren't there? Because if you were there, then you had the biggest secret for the last 40 fucking years.
Think about this. Let's say I was at that match and the next month Hogan wins. I would have told you the day we watched that match, Jeff, I was just there last month. You would have heard that at least a dozen times in your life.
Of course, I know.
Okay.
You can't, come on, man. He took you to a match.
One match, 1978.
I remember that happening. I remember that for whatever the reason was that Bob Backlund couldn't wrestle, whether he got hurt or whatever it was.
Yep.
And Hulk Hogan stepped in. And I don't remember exactly how that went down, but I remember it happened. And listen, he's an older guy. Yeah, I remember it was great. Yeah, I remember. Yeah. Meanwhile, it didn't happen.
I will tell you, my dad took me to one wrestling match. It was 1978, Backlund, Peter Maivia. I'll never forget it. Uncle Bob sat behind us and was screaming his balls off. It's a steel cage match because that's why it was so big. I remember he climbed out of the ring and everybody went crazy. Turned around, my Uncle Bob was going crazy. So a lot of fun. I will ask my brother. Maybe he'll remember. I don't. I remember. I was going to ask you, did you ever see Hogan wrestle live? Because I said I saw it once. I remember me and Paul going to go see it.
I never seen him live, man. Yeah, and I don't even remember him wrestling in the WWE until that match against the Iron Sheik.
I agree. Same thing. I don't remember him until that match. He obviously there was times he wrestled Andre back in the 70s. In fact, there's a video or a picture somewhere of him slamming Andre at Shea Stadium.
There's pictures of a lot of people slamming Andre.
Yes. Right.
Before Hogan did it.
But think about like that mid-'80s run where it was Andre's never been slammed. Meanwhile,
I know.
Meanwhile, there's probably pictures everywhere, but nobody could see it because unless you were standing next to somebody who had the picture, you didn't see it. It didn't come up in a magazine anywhere. But,
I know.
But listen, we lost two icons. We've been kind of stuck on the wrestling, and we'll do a lot of this stuff. I want to talk about Ozzy, Jeff. And, I think Ozzy's had many lives, and it's funny. Ozzy obviously has this pre-Sabbath stuff, where he's, which I read a lot of stuff. I didn't know he was sexually abused as a kid.
Yes.
I didn't know that. 15 years old, drops out of school. He's working as a laborer. He's working as in a slaughterhouse. Gets arrested. Spends a couple of months in, I guess, a kids reform school, whatever you want to call it, a kids prison, because his dad won't bail him out. Wants to teach him a lesson. And then there's the the Sabbath years, and so there's one life. He goes into this funk, drugging himself up. Next thing you know, it's Blizzard of Oz. He blows up, and he's early 80s. He is the just biggest guy in the newspapers with all the stuff. Then kind of fading, comes back and with the Osbournes, Reborn. Ozzy's had so many different lives, Jeff, that, he may be one of the biggest pop culture icons there ever has been.
Hard to deny that. He just seemed to be in the right place at the right time, and he had star power from being in Sabbath and doing what he did with his own band. And then, whether you want to admit it or not, Randy Rhoads dying definitely gave him his career a shot in the arm.
Oh,
again.
Of course it did. Sure it did. Sure, absolutely.
And his attitude and the way that he acted and conducted himself, and like the lovable fucking burnout, and which he certainly seemed like he was. But if you read the same stuff I did, because I wrote his like a little thing about him. There was a very dark side to him too.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Very dark side. And some of it, he's gone now, so it really doesn't matter. But some of that was dark. Very dark.
Yeah, listen, I mean, you don't do the things that he did, Now we laugh about, snorting ants, we laugh about a lot of the biting of the heads of a dove twice. There's all sorts of rumors on the bat. The guy who brought it says he brought a dead bat. Ozzy said it was alive. Some people say it was a rubber bat. Who knows? But you don't do the things that he did and not have some serious inner demons.
Oh, without a doubt, man. Without a doubt that this guy, he didn't just wake up and what am I going to do today to
Yeah.
get everybody's attention. And this guy was just off the fucking rails.
Well, let me ask you a question. So let's turn the clock back in time. I didn't know who Ozzy and Black Sabbath was until after I discovered Ozzy and Blizzard of Oz. Were you tuned into Black Sabbath and Ozzy prior to that? We kind of were in the same. We were kind of in the same ballpark discovering Blizzard of Oz when we did it, which was probably a year or two after it came out, maybe a year after it came out.
I was in high school. I was a year older than you.
Yes.
And in high school, I remember as soon as that album came out, I was in school. And there was a lot going on music-wise. The music scene was huge. And
yes,
there was everybody from, rockers to disco to punks to new wave people.
Rap was getting big at that time.
Yeah, although it didn't spread amongst the white kids as much as it did amongst the black kids.
Yeah.
But, there was a lot going on music-wise. And I remember the Blizzard of Oz album coming out, and because people had it painted on jackets. And, it was a big thing back then.
Sure.
And, then I realized that Ozzy came from Sabbath. And then, other kids were telling me like, oh, yeah, my brother, he listens to this. I got into it and all this other shit. So, I learned about it before I really heard them and knew who they were. But the stuff I remember hearing at the time, I know that I liked the Sabbath stuff more so than I liked the Ozzy stuff.
Right.
Even to this day, I mean, the Ozzy stuff is good. It's okay. But for me, it's Black Sabbath. And, the Ozzy stuff, he got a push. It was a competition between him and Sabbath. And it's another thing, too, if you read that they went something like 7 or 8 years without playing with each other. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, it happened. They had a tour for Live Aid.
Right.
It was.
Yes.
And the Live Aid tour was started, maybe breaking the ice between them. So, it was a good thing, but they would play, get back together, stop, get back together, stop.
Right.
It was something that, they I guess they knew, like, they kind of like needed one another, I guess you could say.
To a certain extent, but don't you think that there's, if you were really truth be told, Ozzy's the bigger star. I'm not saying his music's better or he's had a better career solo than he did with Sabbath. But if you ask the common person, let's take my mother for instance. If I went to my mother and said, "You know who Tony Iommi is?" She would say, "I have no idea who that is." If I said to my mom, who's Ozzy Osbourne, she would say, "He's from that reality show. He's that singer." So I think Ozzy kind of transcends all of that. I don't want to get into the argument with his. I prefer his Ozzy stuff for the Sabbath stuff, but there is no Ozzy solo without Sabbath. So let's be honest with it.
Yeah, of course. But you want to know something? There's so many different things that happen that propel them to where they are.
Sure.
That maybe the drugs that they were taking might have cut back their ideas. I mean, a lot of people say that the album Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath was a strange album from Sabbath. It wasn't a good album, which I don't understand how they could say that. And then they were saying, like, by the time Technical Ecstasy and what's the other one? Never Say Die.
That was the last one, right?
Neither one of those two. I forget.
I think Never Say Die was the last one because when I read Ozzy's bio, he was saying that he was pissed off that they fired him because they were no better than he was. Like they said, they basically let him go because he was way out drug wise. And he said, "Who are they kidding? They were worse. They were worse than me, or at least we were the same. There's no reason I should have gotten fired." He basically locked himself in a hotel room and got blitzed for 3 months.
Yeah.
But to me, at the end of the day, though, it's probably the best thing that ever happened to him because I don't know if Ozzy becomes the star he is if he stays in Sabbath. Like he's probably not biting the heads off bats. He's probably not doing those things in Sabbath. Now, what
you have problems with with management and
Yes.
their money and everything else. So who knows what would have happened if the ideas were a little fresher? Who knows what would have happened? Maybe they would have been dead a lot sooner. Who knows?
Sure. Yeah.
You know, all I do know is that you're talking about guys that played with one another for years and years and years, and it always seemed inevitable that something was going to happen. They were going to get back together, and it's a shame that it took them so long to finally bury the hatchet with this. And after seeing what happened now, I'm happy that they did, because could you imagine those guys if they were still in the talks to get this done?
Imagine.
And then Ozzy died, what they would have been like? My God.
And I saw Iommi's. I didn't see anybody else interview. I did see Iommi's, and he basically said he thinks that Ozzy basically hung on to get to the show. And looking back at it now I know you didn't watch the whole thing. I did. I'm sure you've seen his solo set and his set at this point, right? I'm assuming you've seen most of that at this point, right?
I've seen stuff, yeah, but to be honest with you, I know that they say it's a movie form is coming out.
Yep.
So I'm going to wait for that before I actually sit and watch it. I've seen some bits and pieces and clips that I wanted to see. I saw some of the stuff. I didn't watch every single song from everybody, but I put in the stuff that I wanted to see.
Yep, I got you.
Was it good? Some of it, yeah. Some of it was very good. I think that kid Youngblood, who did Changes, I think it was an incredible rendition. And when everybody says that Queen was the ultimate live performance, I think that Youngblood is giving them a run for their money with Changes from Sabbath.
Okay.
When you have that many people, singing along with you, and drowning you out, that's big, man.
Well, I mean, listen, I don't think anything will ever eclipse Live Aid, Queen. To me, I don't know if that was 60, 80,000, whatever fit in Wembley Stadium.
70,000, I think.
Yeah, to me is the single greatest live performance that I've witnessed. Now, there may be better ones that I didn't see. Obviously, I didn't see it live. I saw it live on TV. I've watched it a few times. Other than that, to me, that's the standard. I mean, Freddie Mercury and Queen, what they did with that set at Live Aid, just if you haven't seen it and you're a hard rock and metal guy, you're out of your mind. But having said that, you're right. I thought Youngblood did a nice job. I thought there was a couple decent performances. It was hard to watch the Ozzy and Sabbath set because Ozzy, first off, was very tough to watch. Now, I thought he did a decent job. I could care if there was backing tracks. I don't care if he was reading off a teleprompter. People were complaining about it. I was watching it live, Jeff, and it was a live stream, so people are commenting along the way, and there's people going, "He's reading off a teleprompter. Why is he reading off a teleprompter?" And people going, "Dude, he's 76 years old with Parkinson's. I don't care if he's lip syncing. Leave it alone." And to me, that I thought it was musically okay. I mean, I don't think it was the greatest. You're never going to call it the greatest, but you're talking about four guys near 80 years old who really haven't played together in 20 years as a four piece. And I thought it was nice. And I know you are down on the set list.
Yeah, it was.
I got it. But to me, I think it was hard enough to get what they did, and they may have went to the. Is your complaint that they didn't play? They played too commercial of stuff. Is it that they could have played better stuff or harder? Like what is your complaint on the Sabbath set?
I think they could have played. They only played 4 songs, so they opened up with War Pigs. They went to NIB. They played
Iron Man,
and then they ended up with Paranoid.
Yes.
So I just feel as though that before you do Iron Man, War Pigs, and Paranoid, do 2 to 3 at most. Okay, they should have. To me, I would have said that it would have been a great night if they opened up with Black Sabbath, the song Black Sabbath.
That would be my one complaint. Go ahead. Yep.
Open up with that. Then if they did War Pigs, I can handle that. That's fine. Okay, or maybe they do Fairies Wear Boots, or maybe they do Into the Void. And then you do another song. Like I know there's certain songs that they can't do.
Yeah, that was going to be my point to you. Is there certain songs, those songs, and forget about Ozzy singing, but you got to remember, Bill Ward hasn't played a Sabbath song in 100 years. So
yeah, I don't think he was the problem. I think that he would have been all right.
Who do you think was the problem? Was it Ozzy?
Yeah.
I mean, see, to me, I think if you're a mid-level or better Sabbath fan, what they played for you was the songs that most people, when they hear Black Sabbath, will talk about and think about. Yes, it's not the greatest Sabbath songs of all time, but if you took 100 metal fans, some who are maybe Sabbath fans or not huge Sabbath fans, and you said, have you heard these songs, or what song do you attribute to that band? Those are the songs you're going to hear from people. NIB and Paranoid, Iron Man, War Pigs. People, those are the songs that people attribute to Black Sabbath. I guarantee.
There's still songs that they put in that would have been better. You got to remember something. You're ending your career on this.
I get it.
You're not playing. This isn't the last time you're going to tour for 2 years. You're ending your career on this, and it is what it is. I feel as though that they could have given us a better selection. You don't have to play stuff like Hole in the Sky. I know we can't sing that. You can't play Megalomania. You can't sing that.
Yeah.
There's things that he's not going to be able to sing. But I mean, you could have done either Snowblind or Sweet Leaf. You could have done one of those. You could have done like a 5-song set, open up with Black Sabbath, Fairies Wear Boots, Into the Void, Children of the Grave, end it with fucking Paranoid, if that's what you want to do.
Yeah,
that would be acceptable.
I think the only mistake, in my opinion, again, I'm not a Sabbath fan here. I like Sabbath stuff. I own every album thanks to you. I have every album on CD. I would tell you the only mistake I thought was not opening with Black Sabbath, the song. I don't know why they didn't. I don't know why, maybe he could only handle 4 songs. Maybe he couldn't get through it. They were practicing.
Without a doubt, when you look at him, he wasn't going to be able to handle much more than what he did. But I just think that it would have been nice if he had did something more with a little bit of substance to it.
I understand. And it's completely understand. I would say my critique of the concert itself, one, that it was live stream. So, you could place it on your TV. To me, a pay-per-view, you easy click it, you pay, it's on the TV. I don't understand why the live stream. The concert won't be 10 hours. It was on all day. And then you could watch it for 48 hours. And I watched it live here and there. I bounced in and out. And then I watched each band, a song or two from each band. Super groups were okay. Nuno Betancourt's a great guitar player. Tom Morello annoys me. I know he's the guy behind the music, so you can't. He's just an annoying human being. People are loving the Jack. I don't know if you saw. Did you see the Jack Black, Mr. Crowley with the kids? Did you see that? Okay.
Yes.
I think Jack Black is way overrated.
I'm not a fan of Jack Black.
Yeah, I think he's way overrated. People, he I don't know what he tries to be, but he's a douchebag. But
I like him and Will Ferrell to me.
Yeah. They did the drum off, which I didn't understand. Like, what are you doing a drum off and a Sabbath tribute? Like, yes, those are great drummers. Don't get me wrong. Chad Smith's a great drummer, but do I need to see a drum off? I mean, do you have to drag it out for 10 hours to have a drum off with those 3 guys? It's unnecessary. And I will tell you this. If anybody out there wants to tell me that Guns N' Roses is a Hall of Fame great band, you can go fuck yourself. Plain and simple. I don't know if you saw their set or not. They are the worst band. Not only was it not good musically, Axl Rose's performance he should have gave back any money they got, and he should have paid everybody in that place for having to listen to him because he was horrendous. Not bad. Axl Rose was horrendous. So,
do you remember what song they did?
You know what, Jeff? I really don't. I listened to every song of their set. It was painful. It was terrible. He was horrendous. I'm telling you, go YouTube it just for the fun of it. And if anybody wants to tell me that Guns N' Roses is this great all-time band, go fuck yourself. Plain and simple. He did get a little heavy. He didn't look terrible. I've seen some pictures of him where he looks like like an Irish grandma. But I will tell you, they were horrendous. They are the most overrated band ever. Anybody, you can tell me, I don't care. There is no conversation to have with me. Guns N' Roses is the most overrated band. Yes, one of the greatest albums, one of the best debut albums of all time. All for it. But Guns N' Roses is the worst band. Is the most overrated band of all time.
They did 6 songs.
Okay.
So they did "It's All Right" from Black Sabbath.
Okay.
"Never Say Die," first time by GNR. "Junior's Eyes," first time by GNR. "Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath," first time by GNR. "Welcome to the Jungle" and "In Paradise City." "It's All Right" is a Black Sabbath cover. It was the first time they did it, shortened, the first time since 1993. I don't know if that means that they used to do it in the past.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know.
Whatever.
Whatever it is, don't do it ever again. It's the worst set of the day. Again, there's some super group stuff. You see Ronnie Wood out there and Sammy Hagar. It's all okay. There's
Somebody told me Sammy Hagar was trying to make it about him the way he acted.
He always does. He's got a very big ego. I would tell you, I thought Metallica was okay. Anthrax, I thought was bad. Slayer did a nice job. I didn't really pay attention to Mammoth.
Yeah, that ship seems to have sailed for everybody, huh?
Yeah. There was a few bands. I'm trying to think who else I'm missing out of that. I made a list of it, but it doesn't really matter. What I will tell you is, one, Jakey Lee, for some reason, was late getting on the stage. It made no sense to me. He is one of the most frustrating people I have. Frustrating people of all time. He was a really good guitar player. He did some really nice stuff there. And then he has this, he goes out of his way, Jeff, to be flaky. What's the word that people use for artists like that? You know what I'm talking about?
Assholes.
Yeah, that may be it. But they're on stage and they're going, "Where's Jake?" I mean, this is your chance. You've been sidelined for 40 years. Ever since you left Ozzy or you got bounced out of Ozzy's band, you kind of been a second-rate guy. Red Dragon Cartel, nice stuff. You've done a few things, but here's your opportunity to jump out there. You're playing with some big-name people. You're playing your stuff, and they can't find you. I
don't understand it, and I don't understand how he didn't get the chance to play with Ozzy in one of the
Yes. 100%. He should have. Now they had what's the drummer's name? Tommy
Aldridge?
No, the one who plays with Ozzy and Sabbath all the time.
Tommy Stoufletis?
Yes, Kaflitis, whatever his name is. He was a drummer, and Zach was there. Now I told you this. I thought Zach Wilde was a Zach Wilde impersonator. That's how skinny he looked.
Yeah, he got older.
And I was like, holy shit, Zach is old. I thought Pantera even did a decent job at the show. But, the Ozzy set was really good. And it was sad. They played some good stuff. Mama, now, going back now and watching Mama, I'm Coming Home, you're almost going, he knows he's dying, and he's singing, "Hey, Mom, I'm coming." It was, now when I listen to it, it's very heartbreaking. And he did a nice job. And then I thought the Sabbath set, while you're not a fan of it, I was happy because those are kind of the songs that I lean to when I listen to Sabbath. There's a few other songs I like, but those are the songs that I would listen to if you were going to ask me to play 5 Sabbath songs. Those would be amongst the 5.
Okay, maybe, but don't play them all like that, man. Come on, there's better stuff. If you're
agreed.
You don't want it. That's corporate stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get it.
As a person that plays guitar, okay, that is played in a band, and now you're putting a clip on yourself of playing the guitar, playing the Star Spangled Banner, which actually sounded pretty good.
Thank you.
It sounded really good, to be honest with you. I was very impressed. You're going to end your career on Paranoid?
Well, again, here's the thing.
People to play that in the fucking studio.
No, I got it, but let me ask you this question. And Frank, I agree with you. If you were to ask 100 people what song they should end on, I guarantee you more than half would have said Paranoid. Because no matter what you say, it's probably their, that album was one of their biggest.
No, but they did 3 songs off of that album.
I get it. I get it.
I said they should have. You don't have to not play all of those songs, but they should have played 1 or 2 of those songs. They could have played, like I said, where was Children of the Grave? They didn't play that. Where was Snowblind or Sweet Leaf? Play one of those 2. The song Black Sabbath. The name of the band is Black Sabbath.
No, that's the one thing I agree with you. They should have opened. That should have opened it. It should have been dark. It should have come right on. That should have opened the set.
These are Play Into the Void, man. This is stuff that they could have played. They should have played. You know what I mean? Okay, Frank, I see what you're out there, but you know what? You don't have to play the off the wall B-side stuff that only the deep fans will know. I can understand that. Yeah, you have to play certain songs for people. Yeah, I understand that. But they could have added 1 or 2 more songs, cut Ozzy's list by a song or 2, and just, let him go out there and play. And, like I said, these guys, 50 years at it, you ended your career playing Paranoid.
Yeah, no, I get your point. I get your point.
Paranoid in the studio on our holiday jams.
Yes, no, I get it. And I understand it. I just say that I wonder when they were putting it together, how much
Ozzy couldn't sing the shit that he sang.
Frank, I agree with you. I think a lot of it had to do with Ozzy's health, Bill Ward's health, what they could play on stage. I mean, Bill Ward, if the second song was naked on stage, the guy was fucking sweating up a storm. I thought he was going to have a heart attack out there at some point.
Yeah, you know what? Those guys, it's hot up there. I can understand that. They're under the lights. But I mean, listen, Ozzy couldn't sing any of the songs he sang.
Yeah. He
couldn't. Let's be honest.
I agree. But again, I thought, listen, I at the end of the day, not many bands, like I look at Kiss and what they didn't do at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and say it's the biggest mistake they ever made. They had an opportunity to play with the original members, 4 songs, get off stage and never have to do it again. And you should take that opportunity. And I thought it was awesome that those 4 guys got back on stage together, played 4 songs, 50 years, 60 years, whatever it is, after they first got together back in Birmingham and played a set of songs. To me, I didn't care what they played, just to be able to say. Now, the one thing I didn't like was the ending. Now, I know they cut things out, they moved things around and stuff. There should have been the 4 of them at the front of the stage, kind of going off together. I think that there was a lot of missed things at the end. But at the end of the day, I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad I paid for it. I am thrilled that I got to see it. I think a lot of the early stuff, Jeff, I know you didn't see a lot of it. I'm sure the movie's going to knock a lot of it out. But a lot of that early stuff didn't need to be there. A lot of the super group stuff could have went away. You didn't need to have all those bands. I don't know what they charge people for a live event, 10 hours. I think you could have did a 4 or 5 hour thing and gotten out of there. But it's something I'll never forget. I got to watch Sabbath at the very end. And, who knew Ozzy was going to die 2 weeks later?
They had how many bands play? Everybody did a Sabbath song. Everybody, They broke that up and everything else. Yep. The super group, where's Nuno Betancourt been for the last 30 years? Now, all of a sudden, he's on there like playing every other song.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I love Nuno. I think he's a great guitar player.
But he hasn't done anything in years.
Well, no, he has, and there's a lot. He's been Rihanna's guitar player for the last 10 years.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, and he's all and Extreme's been out there recording again, and he does a lot of stuff. He's a great guitar player. But again, did I need to see 4 different versions with him and Ronnie Wood and all these different guys? And I thought the guy from Disturbed, who's got a great voice, I thought his set was terrible. I'm sorry, but where was the guys from Judas Priest? I know KK was there, but where was Rob Halford?
They had their own show someplace else.
I get it, but to me, his peers, the guys that there should have been more of those guys. Like granted, Anthrax is there, got Metallica, but to me, there were guys there that should have been there, and I thought the group picks, I wasn't crazy about it. And again, why GNR was there? Horrendous. Give it up. They should never play again. And anybody wants to tell me that this is a great band needs to have their head examined. So anyway, but let's talk about it again, guys. If you got some Ozzy and Hulkster memories, please put them up, or let me know if you want to jump on. I'll be happy to send in when Jeff and I are paying tribute to two fallen icons from our childhood with the passing of Ozzy Osbourne and Hulk Hogan.
We keep on there. I got to tell you something. Since the last time we were on the show, following people have died. Connie Francis,
yes,
Hulk Hogan, Theo from the Cosby Show,
Jamal,
and a guy George Cummins, who was the guitar player for Golden Earring, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, it happens in threes." Well, I would like to see it stop happening.
Well, and also today, I believe Chuck Mangione died.
Yes, that's right, Chuck Mangione.
Yeah.
Okay, but Chuck Mangione was also like 80-something years old.
Yeah, I get it, but listen, it's just tough when they all pass. And yes, it's supposed to come in threes. And I know Bruce Willis is supposed to be warming up in the bullpen. And
really, is that bad?
That's what I hear. Yeah, I was kind of doing some checking around to see who people are figuring is next. But
well, I mean, listen, who would have fucking picked what's his face?
Hulk
Hogan.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this question now. So, of all, now I know, like, if Geezer Butler passed away, God forbid, knock wood, it would be terrible for you. But who else from our youth or thereabouts could pass away today and elicit? I mean, Hulk Hogan was everywhere today. Social media, every news agency, everybody's all over it. I'm sure there's going to be WWE tributes. There's going to be all sorts of stuff.
There's a ton of people that if they went right now would be.
See, I don't know about Simmons. Simmons maybe, because he's kind of pop culture. I think Paul McCartney.
One of the original guys from Kiss, Paul McCartney maybe.
Yeah.
But Paul McCartney's also in his 80s, so that might not
But again, if he passes, it's kind of like a mark of time. Is Paul Simon that guy? If
no.
See, I was trying to think, like, what actor, maybe
Robert
Pacino,
Robert Plant, Jimmy Page, any of the remaining guys from Led Zeppelin may be big. Well, listen, dude.
I mean, I don't know. If John Paul Jones goes tomorrow, I think he gets a blurb in the newspaper. Yes, if Jimmy Page or Robert Plant go, I would agree with you. I think De Niro, Pacino, maybe one of those guys in government, they passed, it would be a big deal. But
not like these guys though.
But so to me, like Ozzy and Hulk Hogan were icons. I mean, to this day, I mean, people still fawned over those guys. I mean, Ozzy had such a recurrence of his career, back in the 90s with the Osbournes, and then he was on. I was saying today, there's a ton of commercials. Paul, I agree with you. I think McCartney's that one guy who, even Ringo's kind of borderline, but McCartney's that guy that I think the world will stop. Kind of like when Mickey Mantle died, like the world stopped for a minute. And I think Ozzy was that guy. I mean, because between Sabbath, solo Ozzy, the metalheads are there, and then you have all those. To me, I think the Osbournes were really one of the first reality shows that really took off. No,
don't discount that. A big reason why the people went mental for Ozzy the way they did is, of course, because it's Ozzy. But second of all, he just played, and then 2 weeks later he's gone. That's like, just don't Uncle Bob, and next thing we know, we get the phone call. He went out to go get his mail, opened the mailbox, said hello, and fell backwards, and that was it.
No, I get it. But I think Ozzy, he touched because of the music. There's a big piece of history. Because of the reality show, there's a big piece of history. But then you take all that stuff in the 80s with all the publicity and the craziness and commercials. I think he would have been big even if he had disappeared for a while. Even if it's been like 5 years and nobody saw Ozzy, I think when Ozzy died, you kind of go, "Oh my God, Ozzy died." There are people pass away, and you go, "Oh shit, he died. I can't believe that." We've done it with the wrestlers and football and baseball players, but to me, Hulk Hogan and Ozzy, there aren't many guys at that realm for us. So I'm not talking about our kids. They probably have different, obviously, thoughts. I'm talking our generation, in and about. I think these two guys represent a big piece, and I don't know, other than McCartney, I don't know of too many other people that when they pass will elicit this kind of reaction from people.
I told you. I think the guys from Zeppelin, Jimmy Page, Robert Plant, without a doubt, because those faces of those bands.
But do you think they're icons, though? I mean, I think they're legendary musicians.
Roger Daltrey, Pete Townsend, when they go, it's going to be big because
I don't think so, Jeff. I think you're wrong on that. I think it's big in the music community. But I don't think. Let's put it this way. I don't think you're going to hear all over the news.
Did you drink today?
Huh?
Did you drink a lot of energy drinks?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, I'm a little fired up today.
I know. I see that, man.
Go ahead.
These, you got to remember one thing about some of these people. They're the only ones that are left. How many people are back from the original Beatles? 2. One dies. That's it. The other one is through the roof.
I would agree.
If the guys from the Who die, the guys from Zeppelin go, the remake Brian May from Queen, Tony Iommi. If these guys go, there's going to be a big fallout because they're never going to get replaced. Who is up and coming? We've talked about this before. Yeah. Who's up and coming in the music world? There's nobody that's ever going to come close to taking any of those people's places, much less fill a void of the music that's left now. It's just never going to fucking happen.
No, I agree with you in the music world. I'm saying, though, the Hulk Hogan and Ozzy transcend their genre. Like, Ozzy's bigger than just the metal world. Hulk Hogan is bigger than just sports entertainment. What I'm saying is, McCartney goes, he represents a period. See, Zeppelin guys, yes, huge musicians. We'll talk about it. But you won't see TV coverage of those guys that you mentioned like you will McCartney, God forbid he goes.
No,
that's what I'm talking about.
Is Paul McCartney.
Right.
You know what I mean?
All I'm saying is I agree with you in the music world. You're right. You take those guys out, and it's a big piece of the music history. I'm saying is Hulk Hogan and Ozzy were big in their fields, but they've transcended that. They're at a legendary status where when you think in the 70s, you're not thinking the average person is not thinking about Robert Plant and Jimmy Page. You think in the 80s, people are not thinking about the big music, not thinking about Steve Harris and Rob Halford, even though we will. I'm saying is when I talk about a pop culture icon, I'm thinking about people who aren't fans of the music or the sports entertainment, yet they know exactly who these people are.
Of course.
Yes.
But like I said, when some of these people finally go, and then they're going to be the last of their breed. Robert Plant is iconic. Jimmy Page is iconic.
Yes.
Brian May. The rest of Queen, nobody's going to give a shit about them. It's just that, it's not just Paul McCartney. When people realize that what we're losing, like when Elvis died, Elvis took weeks for that to calm down.
Correct.
No internet back then.
Correct, but that's my point. Elvis was an icon of the 50s. When my father thinks of the 50s, he thinks of Elvis and Marilyn Monroe. Again, I think in our genre, people who like our music, when, God forbid, those guys go, it'll be huge, but it'll be a blurb in the newspaper and a one mention on Fox News or CNN. Right now, if you turn on CNN or Fox, it's constant that Ozzy and Hulk Hogan died. You'll hear it for days. They'll cover the funeral. Nobody's covering those guys' funeral. So my point is, while they're huge in the music industry, and you're right, they're irreplaceable. They're not pop culture icons. They don't represent a period of time that stops. You
got to remember something else too. Sabbath was still playing. Up until a couple of years ago, they were still performing.
Sure.
Bands like The Who, their fan base wasn't the same. They're not performing as much. And other bands, and Frank Catalano says about Michael Jackson. And Yeah. What's up there, Mike Weissman?
Hey, Mike Weissman, long time, my friend.
There's a lot of different people that, when their time comes, when Gene Simmons or Paul Stanley goes from Kiss, or the first guy from Kiss, it's going to suck, man.
Yes.
You're going to be all fucking pissed off and upset about it. They're all going to be big in their own way. It's just, that's how it is.
Yeah, Frank, I don't think Bono's, again, Gene, see, now here's the thing. If Paul Stanley dies, there'll be a message out there. Our community will be sad, but it'll be a blurb on TV. It will be a blurb. Paul Stanley of Kiss, founding member, passed away today.
Definitely not.
If Gene Simmons dies, it'll be huge news because Gene Simmons transcended just the music, the reality shows, all the stuff that goes with it. Gene Simmons will be a bigger deal than Paul Stanley. And I'm a Kiss fan, but Paul Stanley will be a blurb on the TV news. It'll be big on it'll be for us because that's what we are.
Definitely not, man. Paul Stanley's going to get Ace Frehley and Peter Criss. They may be a blurb on the screen, but Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley, they were there till the very end.
No, I got it, but it thought of different. Again, if you asked, again, I will say my mother, but you asked a common person who's in Kiss, they'll all know who Gene Simmons is because of the reality show, because of all the the jokes about him selling Kiss guitar strings, and Kiss air guitars, Kiss coffins. To me, again, I'm talking about guys who transcended their genre and got to be bigger news because of who they are and their image. And those guys, I think, took it to another level. Again, Brian May, for me, I think he's one of the greatest guitar players of all time. And it'll be sad when he goes. And you're right, nobody's going to care about Queen anymore. But
no, nobody's going to care about John Deacon and the drummer. Nobody's going to even give a shit about them or make mention. Right. Nobody's
exactly. You're right. But I guarantee you, there won't be this outpouring in the national media of Brian May's passing like you're hearing from Ozzy and Hulk Hogan. So I agree with you. Those guys are iconic to us, but in the mainstream of the world, they're blips, and most people don't know who Brian May is. And if they know Queen, they know Freddie Mercury. So that's same thing for Black Sabbath. Iommi's Mr. He's the glue of the band with his riffs and all that, but everybody knows Ozzy. And
of course, Ozzy had his own personal solo career and everything.
Yes, that's my point.
These people with the death of one move up.
Oh, absolutely. But they'll never. Tony Iommi will never reach the status culturally that Ozzy Osbourne did. It's just not. It's not in the cards. He's not the face. He's not on a reality TV show. He didn't do a ton of commercials. People, the normal everyday people who aren't Black Sabbath fans, don't know who Tony Iommi is, but they know who Ozzy is because he was a cultural icon. Same thing for wrestling. My mother never watched wrestling a day in her life, but if I asked her who Hulk Hogan was, she would know who he was.
Yeah,
that's the point. And that's like McCartney. Everybody knows who Paul McCartney is. Everybody knows who the Beatles are. When Paul McCartney goes, God forbid, and he's on tour, and I'm going to see him this time. I've never seen him. I got to see Elton John, but I will see. But again, that's not an argument. It's a good conversation. But I think McCartney's the next guy who, God forbid, he left. The world would stop for a minute to say goodbye. And we'll see.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So again, we're talking about some of the experiences, and we hope if you guys got something out there, put it out there to us, and what those guys meant to you, and this Hard Rocket Sports. That's Jeff and I'm Tom, and we're just chatting along. Next Thursday night will be the NFL training camp show. Lots of stuff already happened, and Justin Fields gets carted off today with an injury. And hopefully it's not a big deal, but they did take him off in a cart. He wasn't able to walk off. Giant camps kicked off. Lots of NFL news to talk about. Micah Parsons and the Cowboys. We'll get them on next week. So Jeff, let's get back into it a little bit with the Ozzy conversation. Give me your remembrance. What How did it go for you? It was Ozzy first, and then you went back for Sabbath?
What do you mean?
When you discovered Ozzy, Sabbath, how did that whole play out? I know you're not a huge Ozzy solo stuff. Was it Ozzy first you picked up before you picked up Sabbath?
No, not really. No.
Okay, so you were already at the Sabbath at that point?
I was always more fond of Sabbath than Ozzy. I was never the biggest Ozzy fan. I can't sit there and listen to his solo stuff and especially a lot of his latest solo stuff. Like,
where did it cut off for you for Ozzy solo? Because for me, it's kind of Ultimate Sin-ish. Like I'm not big after that.
I can't even get through the whole album.
No, me either. To me, really ends at Bark at the Moon. To be honest with you, after that, you could pick a song or two here. The first 3 albums, if you want to throw "Speak of the Devil" in there, you can. But the first 3 albums to me are classics.
Yeah, of course. The first album, the first 2, but to me, other than the songs that were popular, I can't sit and just put that album on and listen to it.
Which album?
Any of them.
Oh, really?
To be honest with you, like if you're going to this Diary of a Madman, Flying High Again, Over the Mountain, Diary of a Madman, those are the ones that I'll go listen to. I'd rather just put his songs on a playlist. I have an Ozzy playlist, right?
Me too.
And I'm not going to get into all of the songs, but I could tell you how many songs are on the list without.
Mine's 14, I think. I think I got 14 Ozzy solo songs on there.
I got 29 solo songs.
Really? That's a lot.
And that would Bark at the Moon, Center of Eternity, I Don't Know, Crazy Train, basically the whole first album.
Right.
The second album, Over the Mountain, Flying High Again, You Can't Kill Rock and Roll, Believer, SATO. And then it's just hit and miss with some songs here. I'm not a big Zakk fan, so I don't have much in the way of Zakk Wylde stuff. And I don't know, a couple songs here and there. Sabbath, I have my set list for them is way bigger than that.
No, I'm sure it's fucking 13 albums full. I mean, whatever it is.
Oh, yeah, but what I did is I have one combined, which is 69 songs. And then I made an Ozzy only Sabbath list, which was 48 songs. And then I just made a general Dio list because Dio, I'm not a big fan of all his stuff. I got 31 songs combined of Sabbath, Rainbow, Dio. I don't have a ton of stuff for them. The Sabbath was, what I liked. I just liked that grungy, fucking slow, sludgy, heavy shit, No,
listen, it's classic. What I love about Sabbath, and you tell me if I'm wrong, what I love about Sabbath is the sound that never changed, but the albums and the songs were all different. It was the same style. It's kind of like AC/DC. AC/DC plays the same exact style of songs, but the songs are different. And Sabbath for me was that sound was always there.
Yeah, it's I could go with that. Definitely. It's good songwriting. You know who they are. They take something, they stayed within their formula, and then they wrote some great stuff. And then Ozzy left, and then Dio came in, and you got the same guys churning out a different kind of music, a completely different kind of music. It's not the same. The stuff with Dio is completely different. Than the stuff with Ozzy. It's completely different. It's a completely different band.
Do you think it's because of the music, the lyrics that Dio wrote that it was so different?
The music is completely different.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the lyrics. I mean, the lyrics go with the music, yeah, but I mean, unless they wrote all the lyrics first, the sound of the music, it's just completely different.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it almost sounds like it was almost like they had to change the name of the band at that. I know they had to for legal reasons, but it was almost like it was a completely different band at that point.
Well, that's what I've been saying for years.
Yeah.
It was completely different. You listen to the songs on Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules.
Yeah.
They don't sound anything at all like the stuff on Volume 4 or Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. They were evolving too. Yeah. When they started to get into Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath and Sabotage, were evolving, and not everybody liked it at the time. They were used to that other stuff they were doing, that slow shit. You know, a lot of bands emulate their style now. You know, like Alice in Chains and Down. But you know, I guess with Ronnie James Dio doing it, he put a different perspective on that band. You know, they started playing different, but there's nothing from with Dio singing that sounds anything at all like Ozzy. Not even close.
No. And when the stuff that I've heard, not too much of, but I'm sure there's a couple things I've heard in the past of Dio singing Sabbath songs. It's not the same. You know, it's almost,
the only time they did that really was in the beginning, when, you know, they didn't have much of their own stuff, and he was singing it, and that had that live album, Live Evil, and Dio sang a lot of the Sabbath stuff.
Right.
It was like 50-50. But then they ended up having some legal issues, and were fighting over the name, and that's where Heaven and Hell came from, the band Heaven and Hell.
Right, exactly.
They didn't use Black Sabbath anymore. So Dio didn't want to play, I guess, any of the Ozzy stuff, and they did all Dio stuff. But they also had like 3 or 4 albums with Dio on there.
Right. Now, like for me, like I've heard a lot of the early Ozzy. Well, obviously he's out on tour with Blizzard of Oz, and there's only 10 songs, so he's playing Sabbath stuff. And I love like the Randy Rhoads version of Paranoid better than I like the Sabbath version. And I like the Sabbath version; it's great. But
I don't think you could get that album anymore. You know,
which one?
That live album with Randy Rhoads. I'm going to look at that right now. I don't.
No, I grab. There's videos of certain songs that they did. I'm trying to think what else they did beside Paranoid. There's a couple of songs they did.
Well, I'm talking on you know, shit.
Amazon.
I'm not on Amazon. Oh no, there it is. Tribute. Yeah. Oh, you could still get it.
Yeah, I mean,
what's his face? Speak of the Devil. You can't get Speak of the Devil. That's the one you can't get.
I own that album.
Well,
but you can't get it. Yeah,
album, but you can't get it from streaming.
Yeah. Which is surprising, but I didn't mind Ozzy's version because I love listening to Randy Rhoads, but it completely changes. You know, it's amazing to me, Jeff, and you as a musician, you'll have a better appreciation of this. It's amazing to me when you listen to Tony Iommi play Paranoid, and then you hear Randy Rhoads play Paranoid, how different the song sounds.
Oh yeah,
just based on the guitar player. What do you think that is? Is it just a feel thing? Like, why is that?
A different way of playing it, and different. You know, Randy Rhoads had his own style. Just like you hear Randy Rhoads, John Five, Zakk Wylde, Jakey Lee, and they all play their songs different. Zakk Wylde plays the songs differently than Randy Rhoads did.
Yeah.
He does all of those pinch harmonics and stuff and those squeals, which I'm not a big fan of. I'm not a fan of his style, to be honest with you. I think that's somebody that's overrated.
I like Zakk personally. I've read his book, a couple of his books, and I like some of his stuff. But you're right. It's almost like Brad Gillis in the Whammy Bar. It's like, all right, stop. It's enough. Like, you don't have to do it every single song 500 times.
Yeah. It's just not for me. And that's even Zakk Wylde, to me. That's just how he plays. His Black Label stuff sounds that way.
Oh, does it really? Yeah.
Yeah. He has all of them stupid ass pinch harmonics and stuff. I just don't like it. I'm just not a fan of it.
Right.
Brad Gillis was in Ozzy for a short time. He replaced Randy Rhoads, and what was it, like 2 months or something? 2 weeks.
If I'm not mistaken, isn't Brad Gillis on
Speak of the Devil?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a very short time, and then there was another guitar player right before him, and then right after that was obviously Jakey Lee, and he went back to Night Ranger.
Brad Gillis was the first one.
Was Brad Gillis? I thought there was another guy right before that, but there was another guitar player also. I can't think of the guy's name.
There's probably been a couple different guys that have been in there, but right after Randy Rhoads was Brad Gillis.
Brad Gillis, yeah. But
I just read something where he had like a real short time.
Yes.
To learn the set. It was like, he had like 2 weeks or something to learn it and get in there.
Yeah, they were on tour at that point when Randy died, right? They were just hanging in Florida at that point.
Yeah, they were on tour. They were on tour. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I was never a big fan of Brad Gillis' style. I mean, it's too much whammy bar, and I like some of the stuff from Night Ranger, but I'm not a huge fan. He stepped in, and then I loved Jakey Lee. I thought Jakey Lee did a great job with Bark at the Moon. Again, Ultimate Sin was okay, and then he was gone, and then Zach was there for years, and then there's been a bunch of guys after that. But to me, I could live with Jake. I after that, I just kind of gave up. I like a few songs from the Zach era. There's probably a handful of songs I like. It's on my.
You want to talk about stuff that sounds alike? I don't dig it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like I said, I love a couple. I know you're gonna hate the song, but I love Mr. Tinker Train for some reason.
A lot of people do. I tried to give it a listen, and
I get it. It's very poppy. It's commercially. I just love the melody of it. Other than that, it's like there's a handful of songs, but to Frankie's point, it would have been nice for him to do a duet with McCartney spent a long time doing duets with people. I would have loved to see Ozzy do more stuff with people. I know he did one not too long ago with, I think the last one was with Post Malone. Was it Under the Graveyard or something?
I don't know the name of the song, but I know this much, man. I don't think that he could have did a song with Paul McCartney. I don't.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. Yeah, but it would have been nice to see Ozzy do more stuff like that, but that wasn't his thing. He was a different guy, and to me, he's one of the funniest human beings I've ever seen. There's some clips on YouTube now with him at. For some reason, he was at the 2002 White House Correspondents' Dinner. Did you see that?
No.
Oh, you got to look it up. It's him. George Bush is. They have this thing every year. It's called the White House Correspondents' Dinner. It's a bunch of they go up. It's all the media who covers the White House, and usually the president shows up and he does a speech and basically like a roast. And for some reason, George Bush mentioned Ozzy, who happened to be there, and he jumps up on a table and he's out of his mind. You got to kind of watch. It's kind of cringeworthy, but it's funny.
2002, he was still able to move and shit.
Yes. And then I didn't know he had this big dirt bike or accident in 2003. Quad. Okay. Yeah.
That's where a lot of his problems stem back from.
Yes.
That was a bad accident.
Which I didn't know. I either I knew it and didn't forgot it, or I didn't know it. I don't know why, but it's. I had also saw something after the concert where they were talking about some sort of a new Sabbath studio album coming out. Did you see that?
Yeah.
No, obviously that's going to happen. Yeah. Now I wonder, do they? I'm assuming there'll be some sort of a Hulk Hogan tribute. Maybe WWE does it. There'll be something out there. I wonder now, was that concert it? Like, do you think they organized something now to pay tribute to Ozzy now that he's gone? Like, do you think there's going to be a big?
I don't think so.
No?
Nah, I don't think so. How are you going to top what they did?
How about a movie about? I mean, we've seen movies done about other people. Could there be an Ozzy movie, like a real movie?
Anything is possible.
I mean, you think about it. If you're going to do one with, for Freddie Mercury, for some of the people who have done it, I mean, is there a bigger icon that somebody who kind of deserves the documentary? It's been, to think about it, the craziest ride.
Yeah. Tomorrow on SmackDown. I would think they're definitely going to bring up Hulk.
Oh, 100%.
I was going to ask Frank, when is wrestling on again? And you know what I mean?
Well, SummerSlam's over, right? SummerSlam went past, so they can't do it there, right?
I don't think SummerSlam happened yet. I think that happens in August.
I don't know. I know they've been advertising it. I thought it was all. They're not going to wait till next year.
Tom, I got to run to the bed.
Go ahead. Do you think? Again, Hard Rocket Sports. I'm Tom. That's Jeff, and we do this every Thursday night. Tonight we're doing our tribute to Hulk Hogan and Ozzy Osbourne, who left us way too soon. We're talking, we're giving up our memories. We're kind of going back and forth. SummerSlam is next week. So I would think, Frankie, could they get something into SummerSlam? I would think they got to have a moment of silence, a video tribute. I don't know. What do you do? Like, what's the tribute that WWE does for that, for Hulk Hogan? Because it's got to be, you got to throw it in. You can't not acknowledge it at SummerSlam. Do you bring back a lot of the old wrestlers, The Rock and those kind of guys, and have a tribute to the Hulkster? I've seen a few things online, but what do you think WWE does? I'm curious. But I got to just differ from Jeff. I don't think there's a lot of guys that people are going to elicit this kind of attention. And again, the only one in the music world to me is maybe Elton John, certainly Paul McCartney. Again, maybe some actors, maybe if you're maybe a Pacino or De Niro. Those guys are iconic. I think those guys could, but even in like the sports world, like who's the sports guy that if he passed away, every TV station, radio station is all taking a minute and constantly talking about it. I don't know if there's that person. Derek Jeter, maybe Jeter is that guy. We'll see. Billy Joel's a maybe. I know it's McCartney for sure. Billy Joel's a maybe. I don't know if he's iconic. The Beatles, Billy Joel. I mean, that's just, I don't know the difference. Jordan, I think, is another one. Gretzky's a maybe. See, Gretzky's a maybe, but I think it's too isolated. I think hockey's too isolated. Jordan, though, I think you're right. I think, God forbid, something happened to Michael Jordan, that would be huge news. I don't even think like Magic Johnson and Bird is a possibility, but Michael Jordan transcends just the sport of basketball. Michael Jordan was, movies, TV shows, obviously the whole sneaker industry. Tiger's a maybe too. I think his troubles has severely reduced his being an icon. So I think that's a tough one. But so Jeff, give me your top 3, 4, 5 matches Hulk Hogan. I got mine.
I got to say it's definitely got to be against Andre.
Okay, so that's number one. To me, is that the greatest wrestling match? I'm not saying it was I still say the best wrestling match I ever watched was WrestleMania 3, Steamboat and Macho Man. But is that the biggest match of all time, Andre and Hogan?
No, I don't think it was their biggest match of all time. I think Hogan's biggest match of all time was beating the Iron Sheik because of the situation that he was in when he beat him.
But there wasn't 90,000 people running around in that place.
It wasn't 90,000 people, but you're asking his biggest match.
Well, you're right.
90,000 people to be a big match. A big match is something of significance and importance. That's why, without a doubt, Andre the Giant, because, as big as Hogan was at the time, you put a legend to sleep.
Yes, that's a great point. Yep.
That match. I'm trying to really think because I don't think matches like Hulk Hogan versus what was Bad News Brown or whatever the fuck his name is, or Hogan versus Ric Flair. I don't think that was it. I think you got to go Hogan versus Macho Man Randy Savage when how like they hyped it up and everything else. When Hogan turned heel,
I think that was a huge one. That was was that like Back to the Beach or something?
Was with NWO.
Yes, when he turned heel that night. That's a huge one, yeah.
But as big as it was, I don't think that could eclipse the stuff that he was doing when he was Hulk.
No.
You know what I mean?
But I think it makes a top 5 though, don't you think?
What's that?
Don't you think it makes a top 5 though? It's
top 5, yeah, of course. Yeah. Of course. But I mean, if I think that if you were to ask most people, I bet you they would pick his first run with the WWF and the things that he did You know, the first. Think of this. Think of what the first WrestleMania meant to wrestling.
Sure.
You know, if without that first WrestleMania, I mean, WrestleMania, what are they up to? 40, 45, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable how it keeps going year after year. It spawned other named pay-per-views.
But don't you think? I always took out of that. Yes, he was big and all that stuff, but I think Mr. T got a bigger name out of those first two WrestleManias because he was basically the star for those two.
Who
Would you agree?
Who's Mr. T? He was Hulk Hogan's friend from Rocky 3.
Yes.
They were in Rocky 3 together. And who else was he going to get when Hogan won? You know, they're still riding that Rocky thing too. So,
sure.
You know, I don't remember how Mr. T got involved and everything else. I know that you know what? I remember he needed help because Roddy Piper had Cowboy Bob Orton. And
yes. Yeah. Mr. T was sitting ringside and then he jumped into the match and that turned into the tag team between the four of them. And you're right. The Sheik match, Andre the Giant, I think that NWO heel turn, and then I think the one where he lost to The Rock in WrestleMania, right? Like WrestleMania 17 or 18. I think those are the four that stick out to me as iconic, great matches. I mean, obviously, WrestleManias were great matches, but he wasn't wrestling by himself in those matches.
By the time he fought The Rock in WrestleMania, that wasn't even a to me. That really wasn't a huge match because The Rock was already a huge star as it is. Hogan was past his prime at that point.
Rock was the big star at that point, right?
Well, yeah, but he was. I mean, and realistically, how's a 50-something-year-old Hogan going to beat Rock?
No, I get it. But it's more about it's not necessarily about who wins it, though. Don't you think it's more about just the match itself and how it goes over and what the crowd reaction to it is?
To an extent, but I mean, you know, that's a match that instead of actually happening, that's a match that should have been talked about for years. You know, what would have happened if The Rock and Hulk Hogan collided in their primes? You know what I mean? Like, who would have won that? Who would have won, Hulk Hogan or Stone Cold Steve Austin? Hulk Hogan or Triple H? You know, Hulk Hogan dispatched everybody he wrestled for the most part.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. And then, you know, every month was a different guy stepping up. Another guy stepped up. Another guy stepped up. You know, now the Hulk, and not the Hulk, I mean, like The Rock and Triple H, they would fight for almost a fucking year. It would start at WrestleMania and carry all the way through. You know, and they'd always be battling one another, and their title would go back and forth. And now, okay, here's John Cena. Now he's the guy for the year. Then here comes Shawn Michaels. He's the guy for the year.
Yeah.
You know, back then, those guys, they kept Hulk Hogan would get a different guy almost every month.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, it was just a different time, a different way of wrestling. Frank says when the Mega Powers broke.
I thought that's a good one. That's memorable. Yeah, he's right.
Yeah, that's why I said when Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, you're right.
That was right. With Miss Elizabeth as the going to the winner and everything else. There was a lot of things with Hulk Hogan. But the thing that I don't like about Hulk Hogan is he had too much control, it seemed.
Yes.
He could read certain things. He just didn't seem like the guy that, like, you know, like he wouldn't do certain things for other wrestlers. You know, like supposedly it's an honor if you're the up and comer and I'm the veteran, and they like, you know, Jeff, we're going to give Tommy a push. We need you to fall. You know, like
put him over. Yeah,
and be like, yeah, all right, no problem. That's supposed to be a good thing for somebody. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So you got to think of that too. In certain situations, Hogan wasn't always playing nice from what we hear, you know?
Yeah, no, you're right. There was lots of stuff that he wouldn't play along. I'm trying to think. There was one in the NWO that he wouldn't do. I heard Ted DiBiase came up today and he praised him and said that he helped Hogan and Hogan helped him. And so I guess it all depends. But yes, you're right. He did have way too much control, but you look at it this way. At that point, especially in the mid 80s, 88, 87, 88, and 89, 90, he was wrestling. I mean, if he said, I don't want to wrestle, he would have killed the entire industry at that point. There was no other star like him.
No, there wasn't. And Frank, yes, I'm sure, but Ric Flair was making money for people too. And maybe Ric Flair might have been one of the only others that, if they gave him the push that Hogan got, could have maybe taken wrestling, because he was somewhere down there in the South.
Yeah.
Doing it in the South. I'm not saying that it would have been the same thing, but Ric Flair was a big name and somebody to be reckoned with. And Tom, you're right. Hulk Hogan, if it ever got to the point where Hulk Hogan was like, I'm not doing this, that was it. It sounded like he just wasn't going to do it.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to, I'm not going to help this guy out. I'm not doing it. It's just not for me. It's beneath me. And that's where a lot of these guys, when you hear things, sometimes you're like, wow, he was a bit of a dick.
Yeah, no. I read his books, and he called himself one. He said, I wasn't always the nicest guy and the best person. And, I guess we all have those times in our life where, you're not the person you kind of grow to be. I mean, I don't think I'm, I think today I feel like the best version of myself. And maybe there were times in my life where I could have been a better person. Maybe you learn as you go along.
But there's a time in our lives where we all could have been a better person. I mean, you can't even point out at that and think of anything otherwise. But I mean, the whole thing too is that you learn from your mistakes.
Yes.
Here's another thing too. Neither me, you, Frank Catalano, whatever he says, I don't know what he does out there in Jersey, but I know this much. None of us are going on TV on Saturday morning in our underwear wrestling another man making millions of dollars a year. So, but Hulk Hogan was. So he was able to, dictate a little bit what was going on. He was the one making the money. They were making the money off of him. I think Tommy, Frank, are you still with us? I think Tommy froze. Either that or he's in a contest, a staring contest with the wall or something. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's me. I don't know. Let's send him a message. Yeah, he froze big time. Yeah, he's ugly when he's not frozen either. So kind of looks like Daniel Jones a little bit when he's.
Sorry, I'm back.
All right.
Yes, I'm ugly frozen. Yes, it's not much prettier. But again, Hard Rocket Sports, we're back. Anyway, I don't know. Something happened. I had to reboot or reload the show.
If when you freeze like that, if you give us a message real quick, a wave, something, we know you're.
I'm gonna give you one of these.
Yeah.
I've decided. See, I love playing Hulk Hogan's theme music, which, by the way, wasn't originally his theme music, which and he was actually a very accomplished.
Refresh my memory. Whose was it?
It belonged to Barry Windham. I want to say I don't know if it was him. And who was his Marty Jannetty? Was Marty Jannetty his partner? No. Who was his
Mike Rotundo?
Mike Rotundo. I believe it belonged to them originally.
Really?
And for some reason, it then went to Hogan and it blew up for Hogan. But that was originally done for at least Windham, if not for Windham and Rotundo.
Rick Derringer died a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, he did. But I've decided I'm going to, because I can't. I've used to play that song to open the show all the time, and all the old shows with that were on Facebook were deleted. I have them on YouTube, but the Facebook ones, Facebook took them off.
Really?
There's all sorts of I fought a bunch of them, saved a bunch of them, but after a while I got so fed up with it. It's like a copyright thing. So anyway, I've decided I'm going to re-record Real American myself.
Okay.
And I that will open up the show. Somehow I will get that done. I've been playing an awful lot. You can tell by my actually putting up a video of me playing guitar to Star Spangled Banner was a one shot. I said I'm gonna play it once. Whatever comes out goes up on a thing. I will do the same thing for Real American. I am going to find a version that I can play the guitar to. That maybe is a cover that nobody has a copyright on. So
I'm looking, and Rick Derringer had something to do with that.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. And there they are. There's some karaoke version, videos of "I'm a Real American" backing track. You do a little work. I think you're gonna find it, man.
Yeah, so I'm going to do that. But I have to tell you, he was supposedly he played 10 years all over Florida as a fretless bass player.
Well, he did play bass.
Yes, he was a bass player by trade, even though in the video he plays guitar.
Who?
Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
But he was a bass player by trade and was in a bunch of bands and made a living playing fretless. I didn't know they had fretless basses back in the 1970s.
Yeah, they've had fretless basses for a while.
I'm not saying they didn't. I'm just saying I didn't know that they had fretless basses back then. I thought that was something that came out later on. I know,
you got to be a pretty good bass player to play a fretless bass.
I couldn't even begin to ever even think of if they ever came out. And I'm sure they have the fretless guitars. I couldn't even begin it. I almost need like what is it? The PlayStation version of the guitar to figure out a song, let alone playing something that doesn't have frets. I'd be completely lost. So
hey, let me ask you something.
Go ahead.
You got any idea what this means?
New bass?
Got plenty of it here.
Does that mean there's a new bass coming or a card game? One of the two.
Oh, let's put it this way. I think we're about a third of the way there. So
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have been playing a ton lately and having some fun learning. I've been on an Ozzy kick for 2 weeks. I learned Iron Man and a bunch of other a couple of other Ozzy tunes that I had never learned before.
Frank, I haven't been to a strip club since 2005.
Oh my God, I can't
even know what I would do if I went to a strip club.
I first of all, I didn't even know if there are strip clubs anymore.
Oh, they are. They're all over in Jersey, bro.
Oh, really? I would say the last time I remember being in a strip club would probably be my 21st birthday. I was Frank Jeffrey took me to the one in Jersey, right off of Route 9.
Which one is that?
Yeah, there's one right. Yeah.
You go over the Outer Bridge.
It's still there.
Go to Elizabeth. There's a whole bunch of them over
there.
No,
this is a little further down on Route 9. It's still there. I could see it. I can't think of the name of it, but it's been there. Bourbon Street. There it is.
Yeah, that one's in my Old Bridge.
Of course.
That's been 30 years, probably.
Oh my God,
30 years.
I'm telling you, that's where I celebrated my 21st birthday. Was in Bourbon Street with Eddie Curtis and Frank Jeffrey.
Last time I was in Bourbon Street, I didn't even meet my wife yet. Me and Joe Gansas went to Bourbon Street, and we walked in, and it was like stepping back into 1988. All of a sudden, they just were playing like Motley Crue. And
I was going to say there was girls to focus on.
Pretty much, they were playing, and I was like, "Dude, this is fucking awesome." I'm like, they didn't roll the calendar ahead, man. They're stuck. They're stuck.
The needle stuck. Push the needle forward.
Yeah. Stuck. It was embedded, man. Like you were not getting out.
Oh my God. Well, I gotta tell you, folks, this has been a tough weekend. It's been a lot of fun to do the show tonight because I gotta tell you, I was really kind of down today after Hogan passed, and it was just kind of like it was piling up. And these are. I would tell you, especially Hogan, for some reason, the last couple of years I've followed him. I've gone out of my way to go to his restaurant in Clearwater. I went to his shop, the Hogan shop in Clearwater. I own a bunch of. I got my hat. I've got a bunch of shirts. For some reason, Hogan has struck a bell with me. And today, when you texted me and told me, it was like the bottom dropped out, Jeff.
Yeah, I was like, wow, I can't imagine. I can't believe this. So. I really can't.
Yeah, I can't think of the guy if tomorrow, God forbid, somebody else went. I can't think of the guy who, if you text me and say, guess who died? And I found out that it would bother me. I mean, obviously taking friends and family out of the mix. Take that out, obviously. I'm talking about celebrity. Who would be the celebrity that would bother me most to find out he just passed away? I don't know. Mr. T?
I don't think that's a question that you're going to want to know, only because this last week, has been like,
Oh,
holy
please.
shit, man. That's we're done. I don't want to hear about this anymore, man.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, God forbid. You know what, Frank, I have to tell you how much it kills me that I have to root for Russell Wilson. It's killing me, but I got no choice. I got to root for the sweater. I'm rooting for Russell. I don't want him to be great, but I want him to be good. I want my Giants to be good, and we're going to do a lot. Yeah, you know what, Frank? You're right. It would be Gene Simmons. I would agree with that. Ace, maybe. I was a huge Ace Frehley fan growing up. Still love Ace. He's a douche, but I think one of those two guys, probably more Ace. If I found out that Ace passed, it would bother me. It would bother me a lot because I remember being 8, 9 years old and lip syncing Kiss songs with my brother and his sister.
Still his sister, huh?
So his sister, yep. And I'm not even sure it's his sister anymore. I'm almost positive it's not even his sister anymore.
Really? Wow.
Yes, it's somebody's sister. It's definitely not mine.
Man, what a shame, man. Because I remember how strange she was. Sitting on her bed, listening to music, and we used to come in and say something to her, and she get all pissed off. It was great.
Yeah, I would. I would tell you. It's definitely a strange human being. Is right. I was good. Yeah, God bless Frankie. God bless you, missed the boat. God bless. God bless. Phil Collins is very sick. Is right, and I have to tell you,
he's been sick for a long time. Phil.
Yes,
Collins.
he has. I would tell you, one of the most underrated musicians. In 1980s, he was as big as anybody. Here's a guy who opened and closed Live Aid.
Yeah, well,
you know what? He closed. I think McCartney might have closed Live Aid, but he played both ends of that concert. He started out in England and then flew to New York and played in the New York concert. So, some of the biggest hits with Genesis solo. That's a guy who's again, been out of the limelight for a long time. I love Phil Collins. I think his music was great. Not a big Phil Collins fan, are you?
I didn't like Genesis like that, and I'll tell you what killed me with Genesis: the song Abacab.
Yeah,
it was just a long, boring song,
Yeah.
and then when I look at it now, I find out it's about like 4 minutes and something. I always thought it was like a 12-minute song, that keyboard part. And I didn't like it. And yeah, he did play with Zeppelin. He filled in like one or two.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And I tell you another thing, I didn't realize that. I forgot that Black Sabbath played at Live Aid. I've forgotten all about that.
Yeah. Yep.
I have the DVD. I'm going to try to play that at some
That
point.
was the first time that they got back together. Sabbath as the original four was for Live Aid.
Wow. Yeah, that was since they bounced Ozzy in 79, right?
They bounced them in 79 and they didn't do nothing until 1985. And it's I learned a lot reading about them.
Really?
Ozzy.
What's the most
important? Ozzy.
What's the biggest thing you picked up after all of this? Like that you never knew it. Holy cow, I can't believe I didn't know that. Like, what, do you have one thing?
The dude, well, he attempted suicide a bunch of times.
That one, that was for me too. Yep.
When he first heard the Beatles at 14, the song "She Loves You," that was it in 1963. He knew he was going to be a musician.
Yep, saw that.
Late 1967, Geezer Butler formed the band Rare Breed and recruited Ozzy as the singer, and they played 2 shows and then quit. Then Geezer and Ozzy reunited into another band called Polka Tulk Blues, which included Iommi and Bill Ward, and who came from a band called Mythology. And after they broke up, they became Earth. And then shortly after that, they became Black Sabbath, which got named after a Boris Karloff movie. And Geezer Butler told Ozzy that he had a dream after reading his book, and they ended up writing him lyrics for the song Black Sabbath together, which was based on the movie Black Sabbath from Boris Karloff. But there's so many different things. Also, between 1977 and 78 was Ozzy's first attempt at making the Blizzard of Oz, and his father gave him the idea for the name Blizzard of Oz.
I saw that was something I never knew before. That was interesting. His father tried to give him, and it was like 5 years later that he actually did it.
Yeah, 1978, he played his last show with Black Sabbath up until 1985,
Mhm.
and that's when they were on tour with Van Halen.
Yes.
You know,
Now, why didn't they got back together for Live Aid, and yet they didn't continue on after that at all, Jeff? Did they play shows after Live Aid? Do you know?
I don't think so, because it says, well, no, I don't know. They played the show in Live Aid and then didn't do anything again until 1992. Then they reunited again in 1997 for the Ozfest shows. Bill Ward was absent for some of those shows, and then December of 97 they reunited to record the album Reunion, which, by the way, if you get your music from iTunes, man, pick up the album Reunion from Black Sabbath. It is an incredible album. Ozzy was still able to sing. They do a lot of songs that they would never attempt to do now. Oh, well, they can't do nothing now.
Yes.
You know, there's just a lot of different things. Ozzy's favorite movie was Monty Python's Life of Brian.
Yes, I saw that, which makes total sense to me.
Ozzy admitted to shooting 17 of his own cats during a drug-fueled rampage in 1980. So I guess he wasn't always the lovable fella that we love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely think there was a dark side to Ozzy that we luckily didn't get to see.
Here's one that is not surprising at all. Tony Iommi said that when the band did Alcohol and Drugs, Ozzy was had the most unhealthiest lifestyle of all of them, and he was typically the last one standing while the other ones were out for the count. He pissed on the Alamo in 1982 and wasn't allowed back for a decade.
I remember that. I remember he got arrested for that, for peeing on the Alamo. I said,
It took Ozzy 19 tries to get his driver's license because of alcohol-related issues.
Could you imagine that? Wow.
So, this is a man who tried. You know what I mean?
He definitely lived
out in the early 80s sometime, 82, 83, something like that.
What came out? Oh, the album.
And that was from his Wikipedia page, bro.
Yeah, Ozzy, I would say, lived the total rock star lifestyle.
I don't know who lived more of it, him or Lemmy.
Oh, it's close. Oh boy, I would tell you that is really close. I'd hate to think of the difference. Yeah, but Ozzy, boy, he lived every bit of it. And he, like I said, he had many different lives. I mean, there's the early stuff, the Sabbath stuff, the solo stuff, the reality TV, then the lovable Ozzy stuff, and then, there's like 5 different lives of Ozzy. It's just,
it's incredible when you read somebody's stuff about these older musicians, right? Like, and I'm talking like guys that we were listening to years ago and still listen to. Tony Iommi, I saw a video of him telling this story that he used to hang out with John Bonham a lot from Led Zeppelin, the drummer for Led Zeppelin. And I think one of the guys from Led Zeppelin, from Sabbath, it was either Iommi or Bill Ward, was John Bonham's best man at his wedding. And I got a picture with all the Zeppelin and all the Sabbath at John Bonham's wedding. I'll send it to you. It was actually a fucking cool picture.
Wow.
Tony Iommi, of all people, said that that when he used to go out with John Bonham just used to drive, and wherever the car went. And he said one time they ended up driving up on top of a fountain someplace, and the car wouldn't move, and they were like, all right, well, let's get out here, we'll get the car later. And Tony Iommi, of all people, said that after that, when they started going out, he says, I used to drive because I wanted to make sure that I got home alive. If Tony Iommi is telling you that he has to drive because he wants to get home alive, I mean, come on, bro.
It's the truth.
You're fucking kidding me.
Yeah.
That's fucking classic shit.
It's funny. I saw a picture today. It was Steve Harris's daughter married Ronnie Wood's son.
Yeah.
So a picture of the 4 of them, and you went, wow, Ronnie Wood's son married Steve Harris's daughter. I'm getting old.
And Steve Harris
has the worst suit in the history of
gray suit on the tie that was completely fucked in the long hair. He looked like Billy from the fucking mailroom that lived in his mother's basement or maybe even his mother's garage.
It was
And, like, they let him out once in a while, and he was just a fucking drank scotch all day long.
it was the most un-rock and roll picture you ever saw of Steve Harris, right?
No,
It was the first
or was it the most rock and roll
rock and roll.
picture because of the way he was?
True. It was
know?
like he was like, I'm going to be the total opposite of what you would think I would look like in this picture, and I was like, that's Steve Harris. You know, had
listen,
these crazy shoes on.
I'm pretty sure that he never, doesn't wear a suit much outside of, like, he has no reason to wear a suit.
Very
He's
true.
Steve Harris. He can wear whatever he wants,
And I'm sure he doesn't go to business meetings in suits.
Well,
Right?
no, I don't think so either. And Frank, you say that it bothered you when Ozzy died. How could it not?
Yeah.
How could it not? Because I want you to think. I saw somebody else write this. I can't take credit for this. Ozzy was there at keg parties. He was there at barbecues. He was there in drives in the car. He was there in certain points of your life. Whenever you put Sabbath on, there he was. He was on the TV. He was on videos. If you remember watching UHF or whatever the fuck it was, Channel 68 videos, that's where I remember getting, or Saturday night videos, that's where I got Bark at the Moon and all these different things. He was a huge part of our lives, man. Huge part of our lives. We were going into high school. The Blizzard of Oz came out. Everybody remembered when Randy Rhoads died and all of this shit. It was a huge, huge fucking part of our lives that cannot be discounted. Can't be.
No, you're so, Jeff, you're so right. Like, I always say that I won't say it's the greatest album of all time, but to me, it's probably the biggest album of all time because it kind of turned, for me in high school, once that Blizzard of Oz came out, everything was different. Everybody started wearing their hair long, painting their jackets, and you mentioned that before, 100%. And to me, Ozzy's been there at every single stage of my life. Like high school, Blizzard of Oz came out. After high school, Randy Rhoads is gone, and I'm playing guitar a little bit. Then I'm married and have kids, and I'm watching a reality show. Ozzy was in your life the entire time straight through. You couldn't be more right that he kind of is that calendar of your life.
I remember the first time where I heard Into the Void, and I went to these kids. I was in New York, cut across Miller Field. I don't know where we ended up, but we cut across Miller Field. And we went across Miller Field. We went to this kid's house, and his parents weren't home. And he puts on Master Reality, and one of the songs that stood out that I remember, like sitting there watching it or listening to it, was Into the Void. And I'm like, what is this? Who is this? And like, it's Black Sabbath. And I was like, holy shit. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. What's the name of this song? Like, Into the Void. And just the start of the song, the opening riff, once the bass kicks in and the drums, it's iconic. And I listen to these songs today, and I remember being back at that guy's house and the things that you could remember when listening to some of these songs, watching some of these Hulk Hogan wrestling matches. And it brings you back for a moment. And then you forget. Frank, I don't know how old you are. I just hit 59. Tom, I know you're going to be right behind me. You'll be 58 in a couple of weeks. And you listen to this and you're not 58 no more. You're not 59. You're fucking 16. You're 17. And you're like, I remember listening to this into Maddie's Park. Somebody had a radio, or I went to so-and-so's house and they're like, hey, I got this album, so what I'm talking about. You listen to some of this stuff, or, you think about it, and while you're listening to it, and it's like, it brings you right back. And, the biggest problem is that I got to take the history final the next week. If I fail it, I don't graduate. My mother's going to kill me. My mother's going to kill me anyway because I'm a jerk off or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just, you think about how simple life was back then, and that was the soundtrack to it, man.
Oh, man, that's so cool. Yeah, you're right, Jeff. You're 100% right. I am glad, and we'll bring it to the show to an end, but, I'm so glad that I got to see Ozzy solo once.
Dolly Parton died. What the fuck is he talking about? G died? Oh, died.
Oh, no, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it could be. She definitely, TV, movies.
How old is she, Dolly Parton?
80. She's 80
That's
something
it?
years old. Yeah, I think she's 80,
She's got to
82.
be over 80, no?
I don't know if she's over 80. She's right there though. I just heard her. She was just interviewed a couple weeks ago on Fox.
79. She's
Okay, yeah.
79.
Yeah. But I got to see Hogan wrestle live. I got to see Ozzy twice live, once at Sabbath, once with Solo back in '99. So I'm glad I got to step back and see these guys. But the other good part of it, Jeff, for us, maybe better than our parents' generation, everything that those guys did, I can go back and watch almost every Hulk Hogan match on somewhere, whether it's YouTube, Peacock channel. I can go back and watch a ton of old Ozzy concerts for the rest of my life because it's at my fingertips. My dad.
Yeah, well, our parents don't know how to really use computers. Some of them.
Even so, my dad can't go find a ton of Mickey Mantle games on TV, or he can't find a bunch of old Elvis concerts on TV. And but you can dig and you'll find a few. But for us, at least that stuff lives and it'll live past us.
Of course.
It's and I think I was really, really happy today to know that we had the show tonight, because I think if this was like Monday night, I would be bummed for a couple days. Because again, it's it just reaffirms we're getting older, and that day comes for all of us, and you just go, as you lose these icons, you kind of go, my youth is gone. Like these are things that were part of my childhood. When you drive past the building, I drive past where St. Mary's School used to be, and I go, it's gone.
Yeah, used to be.
That's what I'm saying. Like little things like that, you kind of like tweaks the button. I'm out in Staten Island. I went to go see the kids, and I drive past St. Mary's, and it's gone. You're like, oh my God. I drive by the house I used to live on Bay Street. It's gone. You're like, oh my God. These are things from my youth that, the
house you lived in on Bay Street is gone?
Oh, yeah, it's been gone for years. Yeah.
Which house were you in?
The one next to Von Briesen Park. That was before we started meeting. When I met you, I was living on Tompkins Avenue.
Yeah. What did they put there?
A guy who owned the house behind it bought that house, leveled it, and made it his backyard.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So right next to Von Briesen Park used to be my house, and that now is a lot where it's just somebody's backyard. So, but neither here nor there. But I was glad tonight we were doing the show together. And I swear to you, Jeff, not the first thing I got in the car to drive. I got in the car to drive home, and the first thing I thought of when I put the radio on, and they were talking about Hulk Hogan, was you putting Joey in the camel clutch. It was the first thing, and I laughed and I said, the rest of my life, whenever I think of Hulk Hogan, I will think of you going, oh, you think it's easy? You think it's easy?
I wish I could have seen that. I wish I remember it more, man.
And watching Joey turn purple because you're fucking just snapping. I mean, how his spine didn't snap in 6 places, I'll never know. But he said, that's not real. That's not real. You said, you don't think you get that? Well, okay, watch this. You think it's easy? And you just fucking, right? If your father or mother would have walked in at that moment and saw you with Joey, with your fingers around Joey's throat, basically, pull him back, and Joey literally turning purple, and me and Richie peeing ourselves because watching this.
Yeah, I got to be there too. No?
Oh yeah, I'm sure your brother was there. I'm sure we were all there, and that's what this will always be for me. It'll always be that 14, 15-year-old me in your family's living room watching that match for the first time and watching you nearly kill Joey.
After buying that house and living in that house, and we used to go in that living room and think of some of the things that happened in that living room over the years, and me sitting in that living room, and I'm like, where the fuck did everybody stay in that living room? Because there was no room in there.
We had steel cage matches in there. How did that happen?
Oh my God, yeah, I remember there was a lot of shit that happened years ago.
You think about like having 4, 5, 6 of us in that space. You think like I remember going back into there years later, and going, how the hell did we hang out in here? There were times there were 7, 8, 9 people in that living room.
Yeah, I know, man. I believe I can tell you some stories that happened in there, like that. to just like, holy shit, holy shit.
But that's what gets you through the day, and that's what got me through today. And knowing that this show was on tonight, and I was very happy when Frankie said he was going to pop in and be part of the show. And listen, I just thank you and indulging, But again, it definitely, to Frankie's point, when Ozzy went, it bothered me and it started to wear on me a little bit. But today was like boom, like a punch out of left field. Now you look two guys.
You just got off the shock.
Yeah.
Ozzy dying, and then the next thing you know, like as you're getting over it, you get slapped in the face, and you're like, Hulk Hogan. I remember somebody, I forget how I actually found out, and I had a look, and I was like, holy shit, you were the first one I texted.
Yes,
I texted. I'm like, dude, I don't know about you. I actually had people texting me, telling me about Ozzy, giving me condolences because they knew that I was a huge Sabbath fan. And they're like, yo, sorry, man. You're right, sorry. And I'm like, I wasn't related to the guy,
Yeah. But I get it. People cheer. I had people, my cousin Todd texted me today. He's like, oh, I'm sorry about the Hulks. I'm like, that's where he sent me.
I guess this is what people think about us.
I guess.
Let me text this asshole Hulk Hogan died.
The minute I found that Ozzy died, like my boss came into my office and he's like, hey, you heard about Ozzy? I was like, no, what happened to Ozzy? He died. I was like, no. So I immediately go online, and then first person I thought of was you. And I was like, holy shit, Ozzy died. I gotta let Jeff know. Maybe what if Jeff knows? And that's but I think this year, for the big jam, we're going to try to make it maybe an Ozzy themed night. We're gonna pull out some Sabbath songs with some we'll definitely get a little theme around Ozzy's passing with Sabbath and some Ozzy solo stuff. So maybe the shirts will be a little bit geared toward that.
Middle-aged delinquents. We first time we tried it, we're doing Paranoid for Saturday night show.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we talked about like I always told these guys like we should do some easier songs. They will get them down. They're easy, this, that, and the other thing. And I brought up Paranoid. They're like, no, fuck that. And then we're like, we have to do something for Ozzy. We do a couple Ozzy songs, but we have to do something for Ozzy.
Sure.
So we were like, let's do Paranoid. And we did it, and it came out good. And we're like, put it in the set list. So,
nice. And that's this Saturday night at the Monahan House. Where is that, in Jersey?
Somewhere in Jersey, yeah, in Woodbridge.
Okay.
I don't know exactly where. I'll be finding out soon enough.
Hopefully somebody will send you the address before the show.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Yeah. Well, we're going to end it there. Thank you guys for all indulging. Jeff and I on our trip down memory lane. I hope we don't have to do too many of these shows in the future because I don't think I can do too many of these.
My God.
I don't know. And, I think if it was one or the other, it wouldn't have been as bad, but having both of them and I think really was a tough one. But I can't think of too many of the people that would pass that would elicit this kind of 2-hour show from us. But let's hope we don't have to worry about that for a very long time. In the meantime, we'll be back next Thursday night with the NFL Training Camp show. It's our 15th annual one. Lots to talk about in the football world. Training camp is underway, and there's a lot of stories. I got about 16 pages of notes to talk about. We'll get to it next week. Of course, this Saturday night, go see Jeff at the Monahan House with middle-aged delinquents. Also, Light 'em Up is at Kilmeyer's this Saturday night for 2 sets.
Yeah,
so
don't go see them.
Go
Go
to Jersey and see them. Go see the middle-aged delinquents, and of course, come back next Thursday night when Jeff and I get together and do this all over again. So, Hefe, I want to say thank you. First off, for indulging me. I was shot out of a cannon early on. I was all excited about the show and being back. It's been a few weeks since you and I together doing the show, so I was a little pumped up for that. And I was a little on the sad side, but getting to spend 2 hours with you talking with this stuff really made my night. So thank you. I really do appreciate it.
I just hope that we don't have to add too many more names.
Yes.
To the dead list.
Oh.
The
dead list is going to be a tough one this year. The dead list is going to. It's already piling up, Jeff. It's
I know. Fuck, I said we got 5 in the last week.
Yeah. The dead list, and we're barely through 6 months of the year.
Yeah.
Well,
It's pretty big, man.
Well, let's hope it thins out a little bit, and we'll look forward to the tributes for Hulk Hogan, and maybe there'll be some Ozzy stuff along the way. But if not, we did our share, and we do appreciate everybody sticking with us tonight. So again, go see Jeff and the Middle-Aged Delinquents this Saturday night at the Monahan House. If you need information, check social media, check Jeff, go to Chris Salazar page. I'm sure he's got it.
Don't check Jeff. He doesn't know where it is. Just put in Monahan House, Woodbridge, New Jersey, somewhere like that.
There you go. And again, come on back next week. We'll do this all over again. So I'll say thank you to everybody. Frank Jeffrey, Frank Catalano, Mike Maffolco, a bunch of people who watch it online. Paul Gill popped in for a minute. Thank you all. Thanks to my dad. And we look forward to doing this again next Thursday night. So for me and Jeff and everybody here at Hard Rocket Sports, we say thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week, a great weekend, and a great next week. Come on back so we do this all over again. Hefe, I will definitely talk to you off the air.
You got it, man. Be good.
All right, pal. Have a good night.
Later.
Later.